Okay, here we go. Oh, sorry. There we go. Okay, welcome to Allied Society, where we tell you guys stories around the campfire, and we enjoy everybody's company. I know I'm not doing this as well as Dell, but hey.
You're doing it fine.
Okay, I'm Friday, and let's introduce our amazing guests. Hey, Patty. Oh, sorry, I meant to click the wrong
You
thing.
lost her.
There we go.
Here you go.
Hi, I'm Patti. I'm the owner of Fae Corps Publishing, and I'm a writer myself. I do children's books and poetry, and I run a small press that we do the indie voices. We try and help the indie find magic in their own writing. So,
Okay, Mike.
Good evening. I'm Michael Guzman. I'm one of the contributors that gets their work regularly published by Fae Corps. I've got maybe half a dozen at this point. I would say aspiring writer, but I guess I'm past the aspiring stage at this point.
Yes, you are.
definitely.
But this will be my first time reading something I've written live, so please be gentle.
Oh, we look forward to it. Dell.
Hey, everybody. This is Del, and this is our Halloween friend for the month. Ooh. Happy Thank You It's Sunday. Glad to have you all here. This body is the home of Carrie Lee Sanders most of the time, and she does some writing, and I read it on this show. On other shows, I let her have the head, but she kind of sucks, so I have more fun.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Were you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
And this is Mel.
Hi, I'm Melanie D. Every so often, I read stories from these wonderful artists online. I'm also an aspiring artist myself, a student, and a mom.
And this is Rob.
Hi, I'm Rob Smales. I write words, and sometimes I read words. Often
We
here.
love them all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Hi, Tom. Sorry, my nervousness, and I brought Cthulhu along because we have to join. So
mine's hiding.
Oh,
I think
okay.
Cthulhu's camouflage reflex is working.
Yeah, it's the graveyard. You're going to see him every so often.
Dueling Cthulhu's. It'll be great. So, I'm going to just jump over here real quick. And, okay. So, guys, it is October, the month of Halloween. It's when everything spooky is going on for people. And, well, some of us have spooky going on all of our lives. My birthday happens to be Halloween, so I just live spooky forever. But it's a time where people like to entertain spooky things. Now, the other thing is that some people don't realize is that traditional Halloween stories are told about family. And because it's when the veil is at its thinnest, as we say. So usually on Halloween itself, we discuss a lot of just family stories and things about our ancestors and go back with that. But since it is a spooky month, we decided that we were going to throw in an extra episode and give you all some horror stories because you don't get nearly enough of them from us here on Owlite. So we've gathered together a group of people that aren't just our normal crew, and we have some stories for you tonight. So First, we should chat and just see how everybody's doing. But after that, we will be delivering you some lovely stories. If you can't make it to watch the whole show or you don't want to watch the whole show, we will later have them all edited into their own little segments so that you can watch your favorites over and over again. And yeah, follow us on YouTube. Check everything out there. We have got some great stories by all of these people posted up. It's going to be a good time. So how's everybody doing? How's your day been?
It's been a
Tired.
good birthday.
It was one of the longest Sundays I've had. Normally I'm done with work like between 2 and 3, maybe 4 if it's bad, but I didn't get out till like 6:30, so
Ooh.
ouch.
That sucks.
So I'm glad I was still able to show up for this though.
Me too.
I've been looking forward to this all week ever since Friday invited me to do it.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
I was so excited about it yesterday that I thought it was yesterday and not today.
Oops.
I was telling everybody yesterday, hey, I'm going to be on this thing.
I'm going to be on yesterday.
Sorry about that.
Time turner here. Just
Yeah.
Hermione.
Felt more like a Monday to me, and it ain't even Monday yet.
Rob, how you doing? You said you're tired?
Yeah, it's been a long month. We're only halfway through, but it's already been a long month.
Oh yeah.
I understand. And did somebody say birthday?
It is officially Dante's birthday, but we gave him 2 days of celebration.
Okay.
So, yes, because yesterday we had went to the park and family members came, and we had the birthday party, and then today we gave him a grill out and just played with all his birthday toys, and he ran all over the place and told us his new stories, which was great. Yeah, 2 of my kids are great storytellers, and it's awesome. We did things with genies and wands, and it was fun. And then there was an ice cream set to play with.
Okay, I thought tomorrow was Dante's birthday, so that's what I was aiming for. So, happy birthday, Dante. I know you sleep with me. I love to take care of you in your sleep and keep you from having nightmares. Happy birthday!
What better way to keep the boogeyman away than to have Cthulhu as your plushie?
Hey, that works.
Cthulhu and Paw Patrol. Nothing's getting to that child.
That is my favorite thing. Her now 4-year-old sleeps with plushie Cthulhu, and that is so freaking adorable. I just love it.
That is adorable.
He's getting a story about Cthulhu coming to his birthday party from me. It's going to be super fun.
And you promised sharks, and he loves sharks.
There are sharks. There are giant goldfish, because Dante likes to eat goldfish crackers. Cthulhu doesn't know what goldfish crackers are, so he brings him some goldfish that he brings from the depths of the ocean with an aquarium the size of a block for him to look at his goldfish.
He's going to love that so much.
One time, one of my coworkers was having a baby shower at work, and everyone was supposed to bring in food, and I brought in mac and cheese. But because babies love goldfish crackers, I use goldfish crackers as the crust.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that is awesome.
There you go. Cthulhu would have gotten that one really wrong. I don't want to eat anything he makes. But
Yeah, really.
yeah. Oh, okay. Looks like we're gonna have Rouse making it home, possibly for part of the show. Little
Cool.
update there.
Nice.
Yeah, there's some. They had some issues going on, but we'll let him get into that if he wants to. So, everybody's doing good. Should we get this show on the road?
Yes.
All right,
Okay, Mike.
Michael.
All right, ready?
Mhm.
I'm gonna
I'm
read.
excited.
I'm reading one of my older stories for this Halloween special. There's no such thing as the boogeyman. Dr. Singh put on his best smile as his newest patient shifted in her chair. Young Wendy Harper, a first grader whose parents had a growing concern about their daughter having intense nightmares. Said parents were sitting in chairs in the back of the room, giving enough space to where, hopefully, Wendy would be comfortable and honest without feeling her parents looking over her shoulder, while they were hopefully comfortable in giving her space, but still be able to see her and get to her quickly if they felt the need. Hello, Wendy. It's nice to meet you. I'm Dr. Singh, he said, holding out his hand. Dr. Singh, that's a pretty name, Wendy replied, shaking his hand. But I don't feel sick. Why am I at the doctor's office? I'm a different kind of doctor, Singh replied with a patient smile. Instead of coughs and colds, I'm the kind of doctor who listens to people's problems to help them find an answer. Your parents brought you here because they said you've been having trouble sleeping at night. I want to help you with that. How? Wendy asked. Well, for starters, I'd like permission to record our talking. That way, I can double check what we discuss after you leave for the day. Is that okay with you? Wendy nodded, and the psychologist pressed the record button on the small camera at the corner of his desk. So, tell me about your nightmares. Can you remember them? Dr. Singh asked. Wendy nodded. Happened every night for days, Wendy replied with emphasis. Dr. Singh nodded in confirmation. It's the boogeyman. It's gotta be, she said. Really? Have you seen him? Dr. Singh asked. Well, no, not seen him, Wendy looked crestfallen. Tell me what you did see. Let's start there, Dr. Singh encouraged. Red light. A bright red light coming from my closet door. That's how I know it's him. Doesn't the boogeyman come in through the closet? Wendy asked. That's what they say in most of the stories, Dr. Singh replied. You don't believe me either, do you? Wendy accused. Just like Mom and Dad. I didn't say that. If a lot of people tell the same story, well, there might be something to it, the psychologist replied. But it's not a story or a dream. He's real, and... Wendy looked shaken. Tears started to come to her eyes. And, Dr. Singh prompted, he wants to eat me, she whispered. Did he say that? Dr. Singh asked. No, he didn't say anything, Wendy replied. I just know, you know. The boogeyman didn't say anything? Did he roar or growl like a big animal? Dr. Singh continued. No, he's completely quiet. Doesn't talk, doesn't growl, no sound. Just the red light, Wendy replied. Have you tried opening the closet to check? Dr. Singh asked. Wendy shook her head no vigorously. If the boogeyman was in your closet and wanted to eat you, would you open it? She asked smartly. No, I suppose I wouldn't. I'd want to get out of there as fast as possible, Dr. Singh said. Mom and Dad let me stay in their room the first night it happened. But not after that, she added. They say it's not good for me to sleep with them every night. I see. Dr. Singh made a mental note to discuss that with Wendy's parents when he was done interviewing her. Is it just the red light every night? Has anything changed from day to day? You said there's no sound, but is there anything else with it? Well, last night it changed. I thought the red light went away, but it just got quieter, Wendy replied, searching for the right word and not quite finding it. Then the door opened, and it wasn't one big red light, but two small ones. It's his eyes. They were watching me. Do you still think he wants to eat you? Dr. Singh asked. Positive. Don't know why he hasn't. It's like he's waiting for something first. Don't you call out for your parents? Dr. Singh asked. Yeah, but when they show up, he's already gone. Dad checks the closet and there's nothing there. He keeps saying it's only a dream and I'll be okay, but I don't feel okay. Dr. Singh noticed Wendy's parents in the back of the room tense, and he held up a gentle hand, gesturing for them to keep their seats and let their daughter continue. You said when your parents check on you, the boogeyman is already gone. Have you tried anything to get rid of him yourself? Dr. Singh asked. No, I don't know how, Wendy said sadly. Have you ever read Peter Pan? Dr. Singh asked. It's my favorite story. It has my name in it. Wendy's face lit up with a grin. Well, if you remember in that story, Peter said that whenever someone says they don't believe in fairies, a fairy drops dead somewhere in the world. I think the boogeyman might be a bad fairy, and the best way to get rid of him is to tell him you don't believe in him. But I know he's real. I've seen it. How can I pretend he's not real? Wendy asked. The important thing, Wendy, is to make him believe that you don't believe in him, Dr. Singh suggested. You're trying to trick him, and when it works, he won't bother you anymore. Okay, I'll try, Wendy said, unsure. By the way, do you know who told you about the boogeyman in the first place? Who told the stories? Was it your parents? Someone in your school trying to tease you? Dr. Singh asked. No, just read about him in the library. My parents would never be mean to me. I just wish they'd believe me is all. I could talk to them about that in a few. But how about your classmates? Has anyone bullied you? Or maybe your teacher has said or done something you didn't like, the psychologist suggested. Wendy shook her head no. I like school and everyone in it. I'm one of the best in my class. Or I was until the boogeyman started haunting my closet. I don't get enough sleep, and one time I fell asleep in class and got Mrs. Parker, that's my teacher, upset. Not mad upset, more confused upset. I've never done it before. Sorry. Well, I think I'll write Mrs. Parker a note explaining that you've been having trouble sleeping at home, that it's not your fault, and we're going to work on it. Okay? Dr. Singh smiled. Wendy gave a brave smile for the first time since entering the psychologist's office. One other thing. This may sound silly, but I have to know. Did you hurt yourself recently? At home, or while playing at school, or anywhere else? Did you hit your head really hard, possibly? Dr. Singh asked. Nope, I'm pretty careful when I go play at recess. I even have to tell some of the others not to be so dangerous sometimes, she said, wagging her finger as if she were scolding a classmate in front of her. Good girl. This will be enough for now, Wendy. I'll be needing a few minutes to talk to your parents. We have a small library that also has some nice toys in it if you want to read or play for a few minutes in the room next door. He pointed through a large window where a room with said items were in wait. Go ahead and have some fun, he smiled as he led her to the door to the playroom. Once Wendy started to browse through the small collection of books and chose one to sit with and read, Dr. Singh turned his attention to the girl's parents. Thank you for waiting patiently, Mr. and Mrs. Harper. It was important that Wendy be allowed to tell me what was going on in her own words. Do you think you can help her? Mrs. Harper asked, tears welling up in her eyes as she looked at the window at her daughter. So far, I'm confident she can be helped, but it will take some time, Dr. Singh replied. So far, what she's told me has confirmed what you've already told me about her school life. She didn't say anything about being bullied by other students or her teacher acting inappropriately in any way. Nor is there any physical trauma. She's not just a good student, she gets along great with her classmates, Mr. Harper confirmed. I just wish I knew why this all started. Dr. C nodded. It's common for everyone, especially children, to have nightmares occasionally. Having vivid ones on a nightly basis is cause for concern, however, especially when it interferes with daily life like it has for Wendy. As for how it started, so far I'm not sure. Usually something like this is triggered by some kind of trauma. She seems to have a healthy school life at the very least, so I have to ask about her family life. Any recent losses in the family, the psychologist asked. No, thankfully, we haven't had a loss in the family since she was born, Mrs. Harper replied. Wonderful to hear that. Now I'm about to get very personal, and I apologize in advance, but is everything going okay between the two of you? Wendy has said you're wonderful parents to her, and I believe that, but how parents relate to each other is very impactful to a young child, whether negatively or positively. Even if you try to hide any problems from her, well, children are often more perceptive than adults would believe. She may pick up on any tension between the two of you.
Minerva, quit that!
The two worried parents looked at each other, then back at the doctor. We haven't had any major problems either. No loud arguments or anything, even in private, that she might have overheard, Mrs. Harper assured the doctor. We've even planned a romantic weekend later this month, but if Wendy is having these issues, should we cancel it? Mr. Harper asked. Dr. Singh nodded sadly. Until we find the reason behind Wendy's night terrors, I don't think it's a good idea for you to be too far away from her when she's not at school. I'm sorry for the personal questions, but between what you've told me and what she's told me, I'm trying to eliminate the more obvious potential causes of trauma right away. I didn't expect the answer to come so easily, but we have to be thorough. What can we do, Doctor? Mr. Harper asked. As silly as this sounds, believe her when she comes to you so frightened. even if it's something like the boogeyman. You want us to pretend to believe in something that doesn't exist? Mrs. Harper asked, confused. Yes, for Wendy's sake. She told me you let her sleep in your room the first night it happened, but not after that. Even imagined, Wendy is absolutely terrified of this threat, and to have the two people who she trusts the most in the world not believe her will only compound her fears. It's also setting a precedent. If you don't react as if this is for real for you as it is for her, then when she is older and in danger from a real threat, she may not come to you for help when she really needs to. If she needs to be with you to relax and get the sleep she needs while we figure this out, let her do so. It's better than having insomnia from feeling scared and alone. Anything else we can try? Mr. Harper asked. Yes, I suggested to her that one day she can deal with her boogeyman is to tell it that she doesn't believe in it. I think you should go over this with her multiple times each night before she tries to sleep. It may not work at first, but give it time. After a few days, you may see some progress. I know you're worried for Wendy, but these things can't be rushed. Call me in a week to let me know how things are going, and we can progress from there. Okay then, thank you, Doctor, Mrs. Harper said, shaking the psychologist's hand, followed by Mr. Harper. They let Wendy finish the book she was reading before taking her home for the day, and hopefully to a more peaceful night. Mr. Harper tucked his little girl into bed. Wendy looked at her father, worry etched in her face. What if he comes back tonight, she asked. Well, he responded, remember what Dr. Singh told you to say to make him go away. There's no such thing as the boogeyman, right? Wendy replied, unsure. That's my girl. He can't hurt you if you tell him you don't believe in him. Monsters only hurt you if you believe in them, so you can make them go away if you stop. Okay, if you think that'll work, she replied, looking downwards. Her father tilted her chin up so she could see his encouraging smile. Hey now, it won't work if you're not confident. Tell you what, let's practice. He pointed to her closet door. Go ahead and say it to the door. Maybe you can get rid of it now before it even comes. There's no such thing as the boogeyman, she said softly. I don't think he heard you. Try again. There's no such thing as the boogeyman, she said in her normal voice. Okay, better. Try one more time. Loudly this time. Make sure he hears you. There's no such thing as the boogeyman, she said it at her door. That's more like it. Mr. Harper grinned and ruffled the top of Wendy's hair. He walked over to the closet and opened it up and peered inside. I think it worked. He opened it up all the way to show her there was nothing inside except her clothes and toys, some scattered across the floor. No such thing as the boogeyman. He's gone. And if you think he's coming back, just keep saying it. Okay, Daddy. Thank you. After nudging the toys that were strewn on the floor near the closet door, Wendy's father had closed it all the way. You can thank me by cleaning up a bit around here this weekend. Don't want anyone to trip, do we? No, Daddy. One more idea. If you get scared and your shouting isn't working, try to pinch yourself. It may work too, Mr. Harper suggested before walking over and kissing Wendy on the top of her head. Try to have a good night. I know things have been tough lately, but they'll get better. I love you, sweetheart. I love you too, Daddy. Good night, she said with a yawn. Mr. Harper smiled and left his daughter's room, leaving the door open and cracked to let the light from the hallway in, and so he and his wife could hear if she needed anything. How'd it go? Mrs. Harper asked when Mr. Harper went downstairs to the living room to join her. I think it went rather well. I told her to be more assertive, aggressive even, telling the boogeyman that he doesn't exist and he can't hurt her. Do you think that will work? Her nightmares have been pretty bad lately. He shrugged. It worked for me when I was her age. Mrs. Harper smiled. My hero, scared the boogeyman away from his closet at such a young age, she teased, grabbing his hand and pulling him to the couch. Did you ever have nightmares like that? Did you believe in him as a kid? Nope, never did. Guess I was fortunate he didn't pick on me. She put her arm around her husband. Well, weren't you the lucky one? He grinned. Yes, I was. And I know that look. Only thing you're getting tonight is kisses and cuddles as we watch movies, Mrs. Harper said firmly. Don't want to risk waking Wendy up, or worse, her interrupting things. Okay, you win. Let's pick our movies for the night, Mr. Harper said, calling up their favorite streaming services. Wendy quietly got up from her bed and snuck into the bathroom to get a small cup of water. After finishing it and placing the cup back on the sink, she returned to her bedroom and crawled into bed. Looking straight ahead at the closet door, she saw the eerie red light glowing from the crack around the frame. Wendy gasped and pulled her sheet up to her neck and closed her eyes. There's no such thing as the boogeyman, she called out. The door slowly started to creak open. There's no such thing as the boogeyman, she said it at her closet door once again. The red light seemed to dim. It's working, Wendy whispered to herself. There's no such thing as the boogeyman, she said more assertively. This time, the red light seemed to go away completely. I did it, she smiled to herself. The door then flung open, causing her to gasp as the red light hadn't disappeared, just shrunk down to two smaller, brighter orbs as if they were eyes staring at her. They were in the center of an otherwise featureless gray head. There's no such thing as the boogeyman, Wendy shouted louder at the door and pulled the bedsheet over her face. However, the glow from the red eyes continued to shine through the covers and focused on her. Wendy's breathing intensified, realizing that things were happening exactly as she told Dr. Singh earlier. There's no such thing as the boogeyman, she tried to shout, but it came out as a harsh whisper. There's no such thing as the boogeyman. There's no such thing as the boogeyman. Instead of disappearing, she noticed that the red light seemed to be moving closer to her. Wendy decided to try what her father suggested and pinched herself hard on the cheek. Even though she knew this wasn't a nightmare, even though her parents didn't believe her, Wendy was willing to try anything to get the boogeyman to go away. She felt the bed shift. That's when she knew. It was on the bed, and she felt it crawling towards her. Shaking all over now, Wendy slowly peeled the bedsheet off the top of her face and saw it staring back at her with its bright, glowing red eyes. It had a roughly human-shaped body that had gray, moist skin resembling wet clay, and like clay, the face was shaping itself before Wendy's eyes until it looked like her face. There's no such thing as the boogeyman, it shouted at her with her voice, licking its lips hungrily. Mrs. Harper and Mr. Harper were halfway through the second movie of their evening when they heard the blood-curdling scream coming from their daughter's room. They rushed upstairs quickly to check on her, threw open the door, and saw Wendy trembling on her bed. Mrs. Harper rushed in to wrap her arms around her little girl, rubbing her back. It's okay, we're here, you're safe, she said soothingly as she kissed the top of her daughter's hair. It was so scary, Wendy cried. I thought he was going to eat me. No one's going to eat you, not as long as we're here, Mr. Harper tried to reassure his daughter. I tried to tell him what you told me to do, but it didn't work, Wendy hiccuped. Hey, Mr. Harper gave a small smile and headed over to his daughter to hug her as well. It may take more than one night, but you are so brave for trying. We'll keep doing it until it works. We love you, Wendy, and we're in this together. Can I sleep with you tonight? Wendy asked. Sure, sweetie, Mrs. Harper replied. I'll get you pillows. Dear, can you carry her? Of course, Mr. Harper smiled and picked her up. Wendy wrapped her arms around him and rested her head on his shoulder, facing behind him. Mrs. Harper left first, carrying her daughter's pillows. As Mr. Harper went to follow, Wendy poked him on the shoulder. Closet, she said. He turned around and saw the open door. Close it, please. I'm still scared. Sure. He moved to close the closet door before exiting his daughter's room. I could have sworn I already closed it, he yawned. Must be more tired than I thought. Mr. Harper heard Wendy hiccup, and he gently patted her on the back as they walked down the hall, failing to notice the brief red glow coming from his daughter's eyes. And that's the story.
Nice. Great job.
Thank you. Not used to talking that long. Need some water from that.
Definitely awesome story.
Some of you are still muted, but
Sorry.
Damn it, unmute yourself. You know it is attacking me.
Oh no! Don't know what mine's doing. He left.
She discovered that a knocked over Trader Joe's bag is the best thing in the world. So suddenly I have to watch where I'm walking because she's jumping into bags, and I've left a couple out for her to sleep in because
Hi,
they're
Shannon.
better than her cat houses. Hi, Shannon. Nice to see you.
Hi, Shannon.
Hello.
Hello.
All right.
Definitely don't want to live out that particular tale.
No.
Me neither.
Hey, Jar. How you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Yay. Now, Shannon is from Nebraska, right? And it was a temporary resident, or is a transplant now, I believe, somewhere else. I could be definitely wrong about that. It's not like I stalk our fans or anything like that. Well, not fans, but viewers. Our family.
You're not wrong.
Okay. I might do minor stalkage, but not bad, you know. Like
No.
just so I can be relatable to people. So.
That's called stalking nowadays. It's called social media.
Yeah, nowadays it's called social media.
Nebraska born and raised. All right, so you get it that it is chili and cinnamon roll season.
Yes. There's only one person here where I know exactly where they live, and I've been to their house. Mel.
There you go.
Well, you're supposed to with family. You're supposed to with family. So there's a thing there.
Yes. Cinnamon and chili rolls. Cinnamon rolls and chili is like the best thing ever. But Alton Brown came here.
Cinnamon rolls and chili? That's
yes.
I've heard of that
You gotta
combination.
Okay, well, it's a thing in Nebraska, and we all had it growing up in our school lunches. We'd get the huge doughy cinnamon rolls with the cinnamon wrapped inside and the white icing over them, and then a bowl of chili. And so it's a major thing, but you have to have the right kind of cinnamon rolls. And
Sounds like they
not, because the ones that are like the crunchy, sugary ones, that's not right. But Alton Brown came here and was like, "Oh, I got to go to Renza and try the the chili cinnamon roll thing," and he just like took it and like stuck it, like put it in pieces and put it. And it's like, no, you don't do it like that. You just eat them together. You might do a little dip here or there, but you don't really have to. Oh, Miller and Payne cinnamon rolls. But yeah, but they made like one of our local, I think it was a Super Saver, had their bakery put together a bowl made out of chili, or I can't get the two right, made out of cinnamon rolls that you could then serve like a big thing of chili in, and then you could pass them all out to everybody after they have them nice and dunked, and it's really a good thing. But apparently it's only a Nebraska thing, and everybody thinks that we're crazy. But you have to at least try it. Like I said, you don't have to dip them or anything. You eat them in conjunction with each other.
There are people that use glazed donuts as hamburger buns. That's not weird to me at all.
It's like the chicken finger and the waffle thing over here.
Yeah.
That's so weird to
Chicken
me.
finger and waffle.
From my father, chili as a rice topper, like plain white rice, and then just a bunch of chili on top of it.
Oh, we do that here.
Yeah. It sounds completely weird to anyone who hasn't tried it. Rather like peanut butter and marshmallow fluff.
Oh, that's
honestly okay. Considering my boyfriend, his favorite sandwich is like peanut butter and mayo, I think I can forgive the chili and cinnamon rolls thing. I mean, there are weird things everywhere, food-wise. It's just a thing.
That's the thing over here is peanut butter, mayonnaise, and banana.
Yeah.
Okay, mayonnaise and banana.
No, he doesn't put banana with it. It's just peanut butter and mayonnaise. It's gross.
Banana with it.
if you grew
I'll
up
do
eating
peanut
it or not.
I'll do
Feeling
peanut
Yeah,
butter.
we used to get chili on rice when I was a kid, so that's kind of common for me.
like I've gotten a few odd looks and reactions when I've mentioned that. I'm like, I thought that's the way everybody did it. Apparently not. People
Has,
just
has, has anybody else done peanut butter on cold hot dogs? Or like a peanut butter bologna sandwich is the same kind of, like we used to do that, and then when we were little ones, my mom found, like, she went to go get the peanut butter out of the cupboard to make us peanut butter sandwiches, and she found like half a hot dog that had gotten stuck in the peanut butter, that apparently one of us had been trying to just dip it straight out of the jar, and it broke off, and we were like, okay, we're done.
His mom got me hooked. Peanut butter in the chili. That was kind of good. That's kind of weird, but it was kind of good.
I got a question on this peanut butter and mayonnaise thing. Is it, do you go straight and true with it being mayonnaise, or do you backslide onto that horrible thing that is Miracle Whip?
No, mayonnaise.
No, he does straight up mayonnaise. Usually it is an off-brand mayonnaise, but it's still mayonnaise. And the whole time I was pregnant with my daughter, that was what I was craving, and I refused to eat it. It was just no, because I had tried it once and it was gross.
Rob, do you have any bizarre food concoctions that you want to share? Or you're like, no, dude, I just eat normal stuff.
No, I'm boring.
Well, you're right, isn't?
Oh, Jeremy will eat Miracle Whip. Some of these people, I don't know what to do.
No, I do like Miracle Whip, but
you do?
Yeah.
Is it over mayonnaise, or it's just also as good as? Do you consider them the same product? Like you can just switch them out, or is it like, no, I gotta have Miracle Whip?
No, I can switch them out. It's just to change it up and get something. That's me getting something different.
Okay.
Is I just swap up one thing, get a little bit of tang to it, and that's it.
Okay.
But yeah, other than that, I'm boring.
All right. Good. Welcome to the horror episode.
food crimes. We're supposed to.
Oh, I love that.
What everybody think?
Oh, I loved
I
it.
really like the story. Yeah.
I don't want to live it, but I loved it.
No.
Boogeyman stories are always so much fun.
Yes.
We
Agreed.
we did two. Well, yeah, we've done them for Friday's Children. So we'll have to get all of the Boogeyman stories together sometime. We can do one on one of the Owlet societies. We do, by the way, folks, as I'm holding up my wine, have a 4-kid or PG rated line that we're coming out with of shows. We've only done one so far, but we're working on making it so that the entire show setup will be based so that little ones, as well as up to tweens or so, will be able to watch it and be kind of interested. Some of the older teenage audiences we kind of assume are coming here, but it's not going to be all itty bitty stuff, but it's going to be all stuff for the younger folks that we don't have to put under rated R restrictions. So keep an eye out for, it's a cute little owlet that John drew up for it. That's all glittery and pink and sweet. So yeah,
It was adorable.
it is. So who would we like to have go next? Round and round.
I can go next if you want to get me out of the way.
If you want to be out of the way,
Okay.
we can keep you around though too.
Sure, yes.
We always want you.
The thing is, I hadn't actually decided what I was going to read this evening. I've got something that's serious and something that's kind of fun. I think everybody had so much fun with Death Interrupted last time. I'm going to go with fun.
Okay.
But also, I haven't read either of them in a long time, so this could be flubby. We'll see. This is called Hand, Hand, Finger, Thumb. It all started with the movie Zoolander. I know, it's a film that just pokes fun at the fashion industry stereotypes. And the only thing dumber than Ben Stiller's character Derek Zoolander, is the movie itself. Well, and the Will Ferrell character. And, okay, you get the point. We only watched it to make fun of it, really. It's our own little Mystery Science Theater 3000 session with popcorn and beer rather than Joel Hodgson and his robot puppets. And that's what we were doing, making fun of the thing full bore. Benny yelling at us for throwing popcorn at his 55-inch flat screen. Until David Duchovny walked into the scene. Okay, in the movie, his name's not David Duchovny, it's J.P. Pruitt, and he's a famous hand model. They fuglied his face up for the role, but when the camera zooms in on his hand, it's absolutely gorgeous. And that's when I stopped making fun. I remember staring at the screen, at that beautiful hand. It's only shown for a moment, but this was all shooting through my head at like super speed. And thinking, hand model? Is that actually a thing? It sounds like a thing, not something they made up just for this. Hey, Todd, Manny said, jerking my attention from the TV. You could do that, man. Huh? I said, a little dazed. Manny pointed to the screen. The hand model thing. That could be you. Yeah, Benny chimed in, taking a break from whining about butter marks on his TV to flop a hand limply in my direction. Your hands are so purty. I knew they were making fun. We're guys, and that's just what guys do. But it didn't bother me. In fact, it barely registered. I was too busy rolling that new thought around in my head. Hand model. It seems now I must have been aware there was such a job. It was just one of those things that never hit me on a conscious level, you know? But now it kind of filled my mind. I tried to pay attention to the movie, but hand modeling never came up again, and I kept coming back to what Manny had said. You could do that, man. Maybe I could. I looked at my hands. They were pink, shapely, and soft. I was a firm believer in taking care of my skin and used lotion all the time. The guys made fun. It rubs the lotion on its skin, all that crap. And it suddenly occurred to me, sitting there in front of a Ben Stiller movie, that though I put lotion specifically on my hands, they were also being lotioned whenever I rubbed some on my face, arms, or legs. No wonder they look so good, I thought. They get like 5 times the lotion as the rest of me. Then I caught motion from the corner of my eye. Benny had elbowed Manny, and they were both watching me, not the movie, silently laughing as I looked at my hands. Even Eric, who'd been totally engrossed in the stupid film, was staring at me and grinning. Oh, haha, very funny, I said, giving them all the finger. Quite a shapely finger, I noticed, before settling down to watch Zoolander. Well, to stare at the screen, anyway. I couldn't focus on it, distracted by the concentration it took not to look down at my hands. They'd laugh. It was all a joke anyway. That night, I had the dream for the first time. It's kind of stupid to dream of being on the runway. I'd never even seen a runway model on the runway outside the movies, and I was pretty sure hand models didn't do the walk and turn thing, but still, there I was, strutting down the catwalk in my work boots, t-shirt, and comfy jeans, the ones where I don't have to pop the button if I have a second helping. I'm following this spindly little girl wearing some kind of big, fluffy collared getup. Made her look like a lion with a stick up its ass. The crowd's murmuring and flashbulbs pop when the lion lady walks by. But the flashbulbs stop when I hit center stage and everyone just stares, obviously stunned at my blue-collar presence. The murmur grows confused, and I hear someone say, "What the hell?" And then I whip my hands from behind my back. A hush falls over the crowd, and all I see are wide, surprised eyes. My hands gleam beneath their collective gaze, practically giving off a ringing little ting in the silence. A single flashbulb goes off, then another. And suddenly the floodgates open and the crowd goes wild. Security forms a human wall to keep them from swarming me. All those cheering people wanting to get closer, all trying to take a better look at or even touch my perfect hands. I woke that morning with a smile and an erection, which was weird. It wasn't a pee boner, and I'd swear that spindly little lion girl hadn't done it for me. She looked kind of like a 12-year-old boy. Yuck. The dream kept coming back to me during the day. Folks out on the warehouse floor kept catching me standing around with my gloves off, looking at my fingers and palms, checking for any little scratches or scars I hadn't seen before. I mean, the gloves help a lot, but still, warehouse work is hard on the hands. I'd always known that, of course, but it never really occurred to me just how scratchy the inside of a pair of leather work gloves can be. I made it all the way through lunch before the foreman came to talk to me. He kind of had to. I was 10 minutes late coming back from lunch and counting when he burst into the cantina and caught me furiously Googling on my phone. There was a method to breaking into the modeling world. I knew there was, but I'd never been good at the whole search engine thing. Eric was, but I couldn't ask him. I couldn't ask any of the guys. The foreman gave me an angry speech about punctuality and how inattention to the job could get someone hurt. And I put my phone away and followed him out to the floor. Well, I relotioned my hands and squeezed into a pair of those blue latex cleaner's gloves, then my work gloves, and then I followed him out to the floor. The next day I was sent home. I was directing a fork truck, bringing Jasmine Henderson's extra set of eyes while she maneuvered around a tight corner, and I kind of spaced out while waving her back. I was picturing the hand inside the glove that was making the motion, imagining how gorgeous it must look. It would look to everyone once I broke through and was discovered. When Jazz took out a tall stack of pallets right in front of me. Some of the tie-down snapped, and the fork truck frame protected Jazz from the falling 40-pound sacks of birdseed that had been waiting to go on a truck, but I wasn't so lucky. I saw them coming, though, and managed to tuck my fists into my stomach, protecting my hands as 3 or 4 bags of Wagner's black oil sunflower seeds smashed me to the cement floor. The doc said I had a separated shoulder, told me to use ice, gave me a prescription for oxycodone, and sent me home. The foreman, a decent enough guy named Mason, called me an idiot and sent me home as well, saying he'd use my time off to think about whether I still had a job there or not. I thanked them both and headed for home, convinced I wouldn't be at the warehouse much longer anyway. It was only a matter of time. The dreams really kicked it up a notch then. I didn't even think about it at the time, but it may have been that I'd never used a painkiller stronger than Advil or Relieve before, so the oxy may have been, well, I guess I was kind of high all the time. I do have to say my shoulder felt better. My first day home, I tried researching breaking into the biz again, but had a hard time concentrating on my Google searches. One thing I could focus on, though, was my hands. I sat there looking at them for hours on end, TV game shows playing in the background, convinced all I had to do was take care of those babies and they'd be taking care of me in the end. Of course, it was while I was sitting there the following day, staring, that I slowly became aware of the hangnail. I hadn't had that when I woke up that morning with another runway dream boner. I couldn't for the life of me think of where I might have picked it up. It would never do, though. Never do. So I dug through the medicine cabinet and took a seat on the closed John lid, fingernail clippers in hand. I took aim, a little blearily, I suppose, and snip. Problem solved. Nope. Wait. Problem not solved. Just changed. I looked closer, squinting against the tiny bit of blur everything seemed to have right then. And son of a bitch, I'd taken off too much, leaving a divot on the side of the nail. It's all right, I thought. Nothing here I can't fix. I got to work on the rest of the nail, trimming my way around the fingertip until... shit. It was lopsided. I sent the clippers around again. Shit. I took 2 more times around the fingertip to get the damn nail pretty much even. Enough anyway that you'd have to look close to notice. What caught the eye right away, though, was that this one nail was a lot shorter than the other 9. I mean, it was short. To the point there was a little blood all the way around it, and it hurt. It hurt even more than my shoulder, which I thought was weird since I'd been to the doctor for my shoulder, and who the hell goes to the doctor for a hangnail? I could fix this. I knew I could, but the trimmers weren't working for me. A nail file. That'd do the trick. It might take me a while to file all 9 nails down to match that 10th, but it wasn't like I had anything else to do, right? Besides, I was investing in my future, looking out for my meal tickets. I rummaged the medicine cabinet, then started poking around in the vanity. I kept banging my bleeding finger on stuff in there. It was my right index finger, and I'm right-handed. So I popped another oxy. I took it a little early, about 4 hours, I figured later, but that fingertip pain went off to find where my shoulder pain had gone, and I started searching that vanity in earnest. I probably managed to get blood on every single thing in there, but I never did find a nail file. It hit me then that I knew someone with a file. Eric. Eric had a whole workshop out in his back shed with all kinds of tools and stuff. He had a table saw, and a radial arm saw, and a drill press, and a wood lathe, but I wouldn't be using any of that stuff. All I wanted was a simple wood file. I looked in the mirror over the sink. My reflection looked back. It looked a little stoned. It looked a little disapproving. Don't worry, I told it. I won't touch any of the saws or anything. I read the bottle before I took the stuff. It says right on there that I shouldn't be operating any power tools or heavy machinery. I snapped it a sharp, bloody-fingered salute, and even with the blood, that was a damn good-looking hand, and went off in search of my car keys. I don't really remember the drive over to Eric's. It was the middle of the day, so I don't think there was too much traffic. I do remember a horn blowing and brakes screeching. There may have even been mine. I vaguely recall parking when I got there, and while Heather, Eric's wife, might have been pissed, Eric had said on more than one occasion she hated those rose bushes anyway. I got out and chirped the door locks on. Not that anyone would have stolen it, wedged through the fence like that, and made my way around to the work shed. I flipped the lights on. Eric had run power out to his shed years ago, and started looking for that file. He had all kinds of stuff, though, covering 3 pegboards. Hammers, saws, wrenches, screwdrivers. Christ, the screwdrivers. And I started to despair of finding the damn file. And then I saw the sander. At least I thought it was a sander. I think I thought it. A belt sander grinder thingy. I'm not really up on my tools, but I'd seen Eric using that one before, and it looked just the trick. I mean, that was like a file on steroids, right? I mean, Olympic-level steroids. I searched around until I found a red switch in the base of the thing, this little bench-mounted sandpaper conveyor belt, and flipped it. With a whine that quickly tapered to a good flat hum, that belt started moving, whipping by much faster than the eye could see. Eyes. Huh. I remembered the disapproving look in my reflection's eyes. Oh, that's right, I said, over the whir of the machine. That warning on the bottle about operating machinery. I looked around for a moment, trying to find who'd said that, then remembered it had been me, and nodded. I turned to one of the pegboards, scooping up something I'd found while searching in vain for the file. I slipped the goggles on over my head and settled them over my face. They were so scuffed and worn I could barely see out of them, but at least my eyes were protected. Safety first, I said, and wobbled up to the screaming machine. I'd started with my left hand, and it took a long time. I was determined to get them all exactly the same length, you see. I wanted them to be perfect, and I kept on getting one shorter than the rest and having to go do the other 4 again, and again, and again, and eventually they were all exactly the same length, just perfect, and I started on the right hand. This one was going much quicker, though, because I discovered a kind of shortcut while doing the left. A sudden shout startled me, and I nearly took my thumb off, which would have been very upsetting. I hadn't even started working on the thumb yet. What the hell are you doing? Eric stood in the doorway, eyes wide, chest heaving. Don't worry, man, I said. We'll tell Melissa I did that to the roses. I can take the heat and keep you completely out of it. His head jerked about for an instant like a baffled chicken, then he focused on me again. No, now! What the hell are you doing now? Oh, I said, and after a moment's thought, what am I doing here? I held up my left hand. You see? I looked at it through my blood-spattered goggles. Safety first, right? Taking in the wonderful flat spots where fingers and thumb had been. The once odd-shaped thing at the end of my arm now smoothed down to a flesh-and-bone canoe paddle, perfectly even all the way around. All that nipping things down a bit at a time, and all I had to do at the end was just get rid of the fingers, you see? All the same length. Perfect length. 0. I held up the right hand in progress, wiggling the remaining thumb and forefinger at him like a sideshow lobster boy's pincher. All I have to do now is make myself symmetric. That's as far as I got before the 2 policemen who'd followed Eric into the shed tackled me away from the sander and took me down. Well, with the blood on the goggles, I never even saw them coming, so it wasn't really a fair fight. They took me to the hospital, then to see a judge. I'm still a little fuzzy on that part. I think something was still in my system. And now here I am with you, Doc. My 72-hour hold is almost up, right? I've been keeping track. Look, I know you have to evaluate me. That's why you're here. But I'm okay now. This straitjacket may be uncomfortable, and my hands might hurt like a son of a bitch, but that whole thing at Eric's, that was the painkillers. That wasn't me. I'm not at all hooked on being a hand model. That's ridiculous. And I mean, even if I was, that'd be all over now, right? I've got half of one hand, and I can't even work the warehouse anymore. So, listen. You sign that release form, and I can get out of your hair. Go out there to try to rebuild a life. See, I was thinking, I've never had a cavity. Not one. When I was looking up all that hand model baloney, I came across something kind of interesting. You know those close-ups they use in toothpaste and mouthwash commercials? Did you know there's a whole thing? Mouth models? Look at this, Doc. Check out this smile. I've been studying it, the reflection in that little window in the door for the past 27 hours, Doc. And you know what? I think it's perfect. And that's it.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. That was awesome.
OCD goes way too far.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Definitely
Oxys.
takes it to the next level.
Fucking oxys,
See?
man.
See, it's
Damn it.
fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. You're always fun.
Your tone really sells it too.
Thank you.
Yes. This is why we love Rob. He has good stories, and he tells good stories, and he's just fun.
Oh, yeah.
Scary as hell
Sometimes.
at times. Sometimes.
At times.
But,
This hasn't really been one of those times. Although I do have a shed full of tools out back with power run to it and everything. So
yeah. So, and I noticed that you do have a very nice smile. You've got great teeth. So, you could always pick that up as a side gig.
thank you.
Be like, and they can put the little shine on,
Ding.
Ding, ding. I like that added in there as well. All right. So who are we gonna go next? Looking for volunteers? Anybody?
I think I'll go next.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Okay. I have 3 short, scary stories, which are true stories, but I have to give a little bit of backstory for you to understand on all of them. Where I live, there is a nursing home up on the mountain that has been here for years. And about everyone in their family has worked there, including my family. So basically, there are tons of stories, but I want to tell 3 because they're my favorite. The first one is for my aunt when she worked there. There was a woman that, as she was passing away, it was so strange. Her face kept on changing each day as she was passing away because it took her 2 or 3 days. And then dogs kept gathering around her window outside as she was passing away. The nurses and the aides couldn't figure out what was going on with this woman. And even the doctor came in, and as she was passing away, he couldn't figure out why her face was changing so badly. So as each day got closer, more and more dogs would gather outside her window. And some nights even they would bark relentlessly. And the night that she ended up passing away, her face had transformed into a dog's face. And as the aides was cleaning out of her closet, they found almost like a ritual area in her closet at the nursing home. It was just so odd, and no one could explain it. Well, that's the first scary story, sort of. The second scary story is another one. I wasn't there personally, but my friend was. Now, I had worked at this nursing home for years as well. And of course, we have another resident that's passing away. And the night that she coded, it was only 2 aides and 1 nurse there, of course. And before she passed away, or during, she had walked up to the nurse's station and asked the nurse to come to her room. And of course, the nurse wasn't paying attention too well because, of course, they're always short-staffed up there. And as the nurse was following her, she noticed that the angel of death was walking into her room. And after the resident had walked back in her room and the nurse had followed behind, the nurse couldn't get into her room because the door slammed shut. And as she was passing away, they noticed that the angel wings from the angel of death had imprinted on her door. Now, like I said, I wasn't there personally for that story, but I have seen the angel wings on that door. Now, for the third story, I was actually there. Of course, we were short-staffed while I was working there, and this nursing home, I'd worked there for 14 years. I can't tell you what year exactly that this happened or what day, but I remember we were short-staffed. It was me and 1 other aide and 1 nurse, again, and we'd already finished our round. So me and the other aide and the nurse was just sitting at the nurse's station trying to do our book work. And all of a sudden we hear a scream and it sounded like glass breaking. Of course, we all jump up. We start freaking out. We think something's wrong. So we check all the doors, which was locked, and we checked every window inside every resident's room. We could not figure out where the screaming was or what the glass was from. But we all heard it, so we know we couldn't have been like accidentally falling asleep or dreaming or what have you. So we nodded off and we go back to the nursing station to finish our work. So as we continue to sit there, we all of a sudden hear another scream, and we look down the hall. We had 3 halls in this nursing home, and it was the longest hall. And we see the oddest thing. We see this little boy running down the hall. We all look at each other like, how the heck did he get in here? What's going on? You know, and as we're trying to find him, he runs into the last room. And of course, when we get in there, the resident had passed away. Not exactly scary per se with me telling you, I guess, but it's just odd occurrences with ghosts that we can't explain. And we know we've heard plenty of ghost stories from this nursing home, but with all 3 of us seeing it, we just couldn't ever explain it, where the little boy came from, where the broken glass came from. Like I said, we checked every window and we checked every resident. They were sleeping, so we just odd occurrences happening. And like I said, that nursing home has been around for years, and everybody and their mama has worked there. So those are my 3 favorite scary stories from the nursing home. I have plenty more, but those were the 3 that I chose to tell today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. Who doesn't love real scary stories in October?
Love it.
I love
Yeah.
them too.
Good choices.
There's that's something that I've heard a lot from my I have family who've worked in nursing homes and just hospitals in general. And then we took care of my grandparents at my mom's house because we were fortunate enough to be able to do that rather than having to send them to a home somewhere. And when you would get the home health care nurses coming in, they said a lot of times when things went into hospice level care at home, that the families themselves would describe a lot of strange things going on around the place. And also, they themselves as nurses saw a lot of different things that were like, they were like, yeah, it's accepted as part of what's going on. That's just how it goes. That those things happen. Spirits appear, other people appear, things start going crazy. Don't think that you're losing your mind. It's probably actually happening. It's just what happens. And if you aren't in the industry, I guess that sounds weird to say, but you don't realize how common and how fucking frightening it can really be. So,
Right?
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
And
and
like still to this
thanks.
day, like when certain residents pass away, they talk about seeing that little boy. Like we know it's coming because they talk about seeing the little boy in their closet or messing around in their room, and it's so creepy to actually see him yourself. And when occurrences actually happen to you, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I really want to go to Danvers sometime, even though it's mostly torn down and stuff, and or places like that, and check them out. But then it's one of those like, do I really, really want to see it? Because I know I'm going to see it, but I have enough weird shit around here.
Right. Well, there's a haunted hospital up here that I want to visit like so badly. But I don't know. I've been still working up the courage.
We have some comments also that came in as you were getting started about Rob. Shannon was giving you claps. And he does, I'm assuming either he makes us laugh, he makes us scared, or he has a great smile. And just don't become a tooth model.
No.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
So, I mean, I think you'd make it big, man. Just don't, you're going to be thinking about it every night. Get your flossing going on. Don't use a power flosser. That would be bad.
Is that a thing?
I don't think so, but
Yeah.
but you
They
take
have
care of your
water
own hygiene,
flossers.
folks.
Why not?
Yeah, well, just a
I guess.
super powered water pick.
Yeah.
Fire hose. I got it. Blaster crusher. I don't have the top of my skull anymore, but my teeth are brilliant.
They're perfect.
All right. Is it okay if I go next? I have something
yeah.
that's very short for today.
Sounds
Go
like
for
a
it.
plan.
Yeah, it doesn't have a name, and we'll call it Escape. I came up with it today. So,
Oh boy, fresh from the presses.
yes. She ran through the dried cornfield, stumbling over ruts in the paths, the weeds, the roots, with the leaves brushing against her like rough paper, scratching her skin, making small cuts and breaking off to stick in her hair. She ran as fast as she could. She had to get as far from the house as possible. Looking behind her, she saw that the field had started burning back where she had entered. The corn was dry, and the demonic fires following in her wake showed no mercy. She was lucky to have made it out of the old abandoned house at all. Hell, even out of the basement. The summoning circle, drawn in chalk and outlined with salt, shouldn't have let a demon cross it. But the wind that came with the demon had knocked over one of the sacrifices, a goblet of pig's blood. It was knocked over and washed away a gap in both. The heavy scent of the room's incense was overwhelmed by the scent of the fire and brimstone of hell as the demon came up screaming, fires following in an impressive display of power. That scent of brimstone hung around her, even out in the fresh air, though the smoke of the field fire was beginning to overtake everything. Blood started to dry, sticky on her skin and in her hair. Human, demon, and pig's blood all mingling with the fresh blood that was trickling out of the nicks and scrapes from the corn. The fight inside the basement had been quick and brutal. Athames were nice for performing rituals and summonings, but the more decorative the blade, the less effective of a weapon it made for. She had just been able to escape, and she knew she was being pursued. She hoped that the fire would make it more difficult. She thought back to the vision of hell inside the circle just as the ritual was completing, with the demon rising from its depths, entering the basement to the sounds of ungodly screams and smells, the winds and heat taking out everything so carefully prepared. She would do anything to escape that fate. It seemed as though she had been running for hours, forever, when at last she reached the end of the field. There was a short jaunt across open grass and then a fence. Beyond the fence, a forest grew. The gate was nowhere near her, so she put an extra burst of speed, the last of her reserves, and bolted as quickly as she could to the tree line, climbing the fence, thankful it wasn't barbed wire, and then fell back against a tree once she had gotten herself far enough in to be out of the line of light of the fire. Peeking around the tree, she saw the field ablaze, a veritable inferno behind her. The demon was still hot enough from hell that the aura was enough to set the drying crops ablaze. She took a few deep breaths to calm herself and headed deeper into the forest. It was cooler here, the trees older and moss-grown. There was a sound of a stream up ahead. She made for that, moving more carefully through the thick undergrowth. Worried about being followed, she was hunched over as much as she could be, dodging behind trees at any sound at all. When she finally made it to the stream, she nearly cried out her joy. The water was cold. The stream was a couple of yards wide and a few feet deep in the center. She walked in a few feet and scrubbed herself down, flinching at the coldness stinging her skin and the cuts. She cupped her hands together and drank, finally ducking her head beneath the water as well, and she took a large mouthful while submerged. She caught herself wasting time. She still had a pursuer. She climbed back out of the water and scoured the bank for anything useful. She came across some large rocks and a few fallen limbs. Grabbing a particularly sharp-sided rock with one of the larger branches, she tucked herself deep into a cleft in a stone with some overgrown plants before her. She could hear the footsteps of her pursuer now, not bothering to hide themselves, charging through the forest, hell-bent on leather. In the black and white casting under the moon, he could be glimpsed, starkly pale compared to the grisly painting of black blood that coated him, eyes looking all around, wielding an axe, something that he must have picked up after leaving the old farmhouse. She tensed, waiting for him to get close enough. Like she had, when he reached the stream, he paused for a moment to kneel down and take a drink, panting heavily, looking back and forth as he tried to quench his thirst and clean some of the gore from himself. She took her chance, sneaking as quietly from her hiding spot as she could. She left the branch behind, hefting the rock between both of her hands. He saw her at the last minute and started swinging the axe at her recklessly. He was too late. The rock crashed down on his skull before the axe could make contact, and then it was dropped as he fell to the ground. He let out a roar as she continued slamming the rock into his skull. But after a futile struggle, he finally stopped moving outside of a few twitches as she beat his head into a pulp along the stream, blood washing away with the water, leaving dark trails as it swirled the current. When she finished, she sat back on her haunches and looked at her work. She picked a bit of gray matter from his caved-in skull and regarded it curiously in the moonlight, then placed it in her mouth and chewed. She smiled at the flavor and started digging out a few other bites. She was free now, her summoner dead. She smiled to herself, insisting upon a large goblet of blood as one of her sacrifices had worked out for a few times now. She smiled as she picked up the axe and began cutting up the meat before her. She would need her energies if she was going to have any fun this time. The end.
Nice twist.
Rock, paper, wood axe. Rock beats axe.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Did not
That
see
was
that in
funny.
me coming.
Oh, so okay, cool. That was that
Yes.
was a couple hours today. So
Nice.
I had to come up with
Not bad.
I had to come up with something
Nice
scary
quit.
because, like, I had all these other stories on it. I'm like, wait, these aren't horror. Shit. Sometimes I do write things that aren't. So I'm clicking through my files. Nope. Used all those. I got to start writing more, guys.
We're trying. I hope we're getting there.
We lost somebody while I was gone.
Yeah, there was a family situation and she had to run.
Okay.
Ah,
I hope everything turns out okay.
He's gonna make sure everything turns out okay and he makes it home safe.
Okay. Thank you, Shannon. I'm like, clappies for myself. I'll just put that on the screen real quick.
Yes. I'll give you the clappy.
All right. Still waiting on Raz to possibly be able to make it here, but we still have Patti and Friday. Who would like to hop up next?
I don't know. Do you want to go
What?
or do you want me to go? And you and Mike probably figured out where my story came from in the new anthology.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's the idea.
Yes.
I think I will go ahead and go if that's okay.
That's great.
I'm reading Serena Smossgraves' story of The Blood Siren. It's appeared not only in one of the Nightmare Whispers volumes, but also in her new story collection that she just put out. The lights across the sky seemed almost peaceful tonight. It was hard to believe that so much had happened in the last few months. The world was reeling from the sudden death of my mother. She was the biggest horror novelist of all times, Jacqueline Candor. I was among them, though for far different reasons. My father had raised me. I had not seen my mother since I was little. With her death, I was suddenly heir to the island she owned off the coast near Seattle, Washington. My father had passed a few years ago, leaving me alone. I had no ties to the island, no reason to go, yet I found myself wanting to know more about the Horror Queen. I had inherited everything, including her boat, the Blood Siren. There was no excuse I could find not to explore this part of who I was. And still, I hesitated. It seemed as though the timing was suspect. In the week after her death, the skies above the United States turned an ominous red. People started to fall ill from sun poisoning. We were advised that unless it was an emergency not to go outside. People, as a group, are stupid and ignored the instructions. So the police had to get involved. Living in the city and dealing with the martial law made my decision for me. The island, with all of its mystery, was safer, or so I thought. I believed that, at the very least, being on the island would protect me from the ones who blamed her death for the sickness. How could one woman dying cause such an apocalypse? Logic seemed to fly out of the window in the face of fear. I did not expect to find my own fear manifested. I am, by my nature, a logical soul. An accountant professionally. Logically, having assets that were not being used was a poor idea anyway. At the very least, I needed to assess the property and decide what to do with it for the long term. I packed everything I owned. It was not a financially sound idea to rent an apartment when I owned an island. If I decided to sell it, I would be able to find an appropriate rental where I wanted to live. The whole thing felt like it was glass in my stomach. The Blood Siren was a gorgeous yacht, spacious, decked out in crimson fittings. It had the feel of walking into a speakeasy. There was even an ancient gramophone in the master's suite with an interesting collection of jazz records. My father was not a fan of music, so I felt a kinship with my mother when I found that. It was incredibly strange to bond with someone you never really knew through something as simple as a song played on a machine made before I was even born. The crystal bottles lined the wall cabinet. The crystal bottles lined across the wall cabinet seemed to be filled with interesting liquids. Gold, clear, and amber liquids that a quick smell identified as various alcohols. I figured the cabinet was to keep the bottles from falling across the room during rough seas. I wondered at my mother's tastes. The ship was literally decorated as if it was stuck in the 1920s. Even the clothes that was in the master suite was flapper-style dresses. My mother was apparently the same dress size as I. Exhaustion had me crawling into the master bed with the idea of a nap. I knew I had to pilot myself to the island. I knew the responsibility I bore. I made it no farther than bed. I had at least set myself loose from the dock and laid anchor in the bay. It would prevent the determined from reaching me. It wouldn't prevent the determined from reaching me, but it would slow the others, though. My tour of the ship was short. I found the master suite and crashed. My dreams were strange. I could hear chants in the dark and threatening tones. I couldn't understand the language, and I couldn't find the speaker. No light seemed to penetrate the shadows of my dreams, and I seemed to be doing nothing but run. I've never dreamed anything like it. Waking up covered in a fine sheen of terror, I could swear that the chant had followed me out of my slumber. Shaking myself to try and pull out from the lingering dregs of disturbing dreams, I got up and headed quickly for the glorious shower in the master bath. Though I found the crimson brickwork strange and the enclosure too spacious, I had to admit that the surround jets were a luxury that I could enjoy forever, especially with the unlimited hot water under enough pressure to massage the stress out of any muscle. Soft red bath sheets and a nice clean silk flapper dress added to the bizarre mindset that I was stuck in. I kept expecting Rod Sterling to step around the corner at any moment. The other rooms on board the ship were decked out in luxury and an amazing warm natural color scheme, but not the master suite. Everything in there was a shade of red, or it was black. It felt like someone was wanting to hide bloodstains in the way colors were done in there. Though my mother and I seemed to share tastes in music and clothing, I found her taste in art to be disturbing. Demonic imagery hung on the wall, and weird gargoyle-like statuary strewn about the ship. If I was not worried that I would be destroying some priceless piece of junk, well, I may have thrown them all overboard. The temptation was so very high, especially when I nearly bumped into one of those hideous gargoyles when I walked onto the bridge of the ship. The eyes seemed to follow me as I set about putting in the information to get to the island. I was incredibly thankful for the automation on the controls. I was new to the idea of sailing, so I needed the assistance that the onboard computer afforded. I suppose I could have hired a crew to ease the voyage, but I found myself needing the quiet of alone. Small noises were making me jump. What would I do if there were other people aboard? I set the course and continued my exploration of my mother through her siren. I found some old first edition copies of her novels in a box hidden away on the bridge. It seemed like a strange place to store books. I couldn't help thinking that they should be displayed. I wondered at why my mother would keep them here. I settled in with a glass of gin, her first horror novel, listening to the sweet notes of jazz warbling from the record. I am strange. I enjoy reading and often read every single page. I was amused to see the first typo on the copyright page. Published in 1920. My mother was not anywhere near that old. I think she was born in 1958. Likely the book was published in 1970. I would have to look up the exact date. I have to admit the book gave me a bit of relief from the real world. I only came up for air in time for dinner. Her style of writing pulled me into the story, making me feel a little lost in the little Maine town the book was set in. When I looked up to replace the record, I gave myself a scare. Sitting in the dark wall across from me was one of those awful statues. This one was female with extended wings and an angry snarl across its face. For a moment, I swear I felt like I was looking into one of those weird funhouse mirrors. The statue must have been fashioned after my mother. After being so focused on the deep psychological thriller that she wrote, I could not deal well with my mother's art tastes. I gingerly pushed the statue into the closet. I did not want to break that particular one, but I also did not like it staring at me. It was weird for me to be enjoying such a leisure. No deadline, no demands. I felt itchy at even the idea. I decided that I would allow myself that day, and then tomorrow I would be more determined in my pursuit of the island. I had stocked the ship before leaving port, as I was unsure of what awaited me on the island. The quaint little galley made cooking feel like an adventure in itself. The blood siren was so comfortable that I started to think of it as a possible home going forward. I was still on the fence about so many things, but I was glad to have the ship. Everything on board was accessible without going out into the sun. I fell asleep in the comfort of the reading chair, only to awake dreaming about the strange chants again. I don't know why I was continually dreaming about that strange chant. I felt odd. My own skin seemed tight. I got up, determined to shake that uneasiness, and started towards the shower. I didn't get far. That demon statue of my mother was set across the room from my seat. I could have sworn I'd shoved it into the closet earlier. I was certain of it. I decided that someone was on board and messing with me. Gaslighting, I think they call it. I couldn't fathom why, but I was determined to find the culprit and set them off of my ship. I spent the next 2 hours searching the ship, only to find myself alone. I was seriously beginning to question my own sanity. The engine had stalled. I was dead in the water halfway between the island and the mainland. I was unsure what was wrong. What I knew about mechanics could fit in the eye of the needle with room to spare. My phone had no signal either. I found myself suddenly alone and stranded. Not a situation I was used to at all. There was a radio on the bridge, but all I was receiving was static. Panic set in. I poured myself a glass of one of the amber liquids that had adorned the wall of my mother's room to settle my nerves. It burned all the way down and left me feeling like I was swimming. Also felt better than I had in years. I always had a tightness in my neck and shoulders. It was just something I'd grown accustomed to. It was suddenly gone. I was not drunk, not like the way the media showed it. I just felt loose and at ease in my own skin. I suppose I was a lightweight for one drink to have such an effect, but it was the first one I have had. I don't know what I should have done. I went to the engine room, and after finding nothing obvious that I could fix, gave up. It was something that I could deal with in the morning, after a good night's sleep. I decided that the master bedroom was a bad idea, so I went to one of the others. The Blood Siren had 5 and a crew bunk room. It really was a floating mansion. I thought it would make my dreams less scary. The chanting woke me, but I could not move. My body was stuck to the bed, and I was unable to stop what was happening. The gargoyle statue that resembled my mother was moving around me. She was the one doing the chanting. The chanting lasted nearly an hour, and I found myself disconnected from my body. I was able to watch all of what happened over the course of the next 60 years. My spirit watched as my mother controlled the body that was no longer my own. The daughter of Jacqueline Candor had a talent for the same horror stories that her mother had once written. My mother, in my body, would speak to me whenever she was aboard the Siren. I wandered about the ship as I pleased.
Oh, I love that. Very nice and dark.
That was great. I love that the first time I read it too.
I haven't read before. There's I want to bring up because I saw it mentioned earlier, and I'm gonna forget the name again, but there is a great story that you should read if you would all like Peter Pan, and horror. And is that under Selena?
Serena
It is
Moss.
under Serena.
Okay. But
It's called The Death of Neverland.
yes,
Oh,
it's
great.
it's a beautiful story, and it's luscious and just full of very fun darkness. Just got a text, and Raz is on his way. He should be home in 15 minutes. So we will actually get a Raz story in tonight.
Yay.
I want to take this moment to say that here's my cat, by the way. I do not have her dressed for Halloween right now because it is not yet Halloween, and she loves wearing clothes, but not nearly as much as the dog does. And speaking of that, there's a sponsorship that we aren't sure if we have or not with Chewy, or not sponsorship, affiliation. And regardless of which, we like showing off Chewy things. So, and pets, because pets are awesome. So I would like to go ahead and show matching costumes of my mother's dog and my cat from last Halloween that we purchased from Chewy. And this is Peanut. She's a little mini itty bitty. She weighs like 8 pounds. And she's sporting the skeleton tutu. And then we have my lovely Hinata and my house that's full of blood because it was so messy. I just had to put up a background. But you can buy adorable costumes and things like these for your pets. Going on Chewy.com is a great place to get a lot of things. I get all of my food there, all of my litter there, because I live on the second floor of an apartment building, and I do not feel like carrying like 170 pounds worth of food or litter up at a time.
Don't
Because
blame me.
A lot of food and litter.
well, I mean, if you have a cat or multiple cats, which I had for a while, if you're buying litter, it's easier to just get like 100 and some pounds delivered to you. It'd be 140 pounds of litter and then a 30-pound bag of cat food. Just get it all at once, and then you're good for like the month. Because I don't have transportation, so I need to have things delivered. So having Chewy deliver things to me is awesome. And I don't have the picture on this setup, but they also do really sweet things for their customers. Like, I once got a surprise delivery from Chewy, and I'd posted up. They ask you, like, submit pictures of your pets and stuff. And I'd posted up pictures of my pets, and they sent me hand-done oil paintings of each of my cats. And so,
Nice.
Oh, wow.
yeah, they're only about like
Whoa.
this big or so square, but they're autographed, and they are totally beautiful. And I love them. So my grandparents could see my cats. I took them over there. And so on my mom's fireplace, like, there's the TV in the center, then family pictures, and then my cats are sitting looking out at me. And they started doing it for somebody when they had a pet that died. And oh yeah, you get the birthday cards for your cats. The one thing that's sad is that one of my cats passed, and I wrote and told them this and was like, I would appreciate no longer getting birthday cards for Yeti because he has passed on, but I don't want to take down my pictures of Yeti. So if that would be okay. And so now every birthday or holiday I get something for Hinata and then something for Yeti -- past. So they haven't actually made a setting for it yet. They just remind me that he's dead every time.
That's
I get
horrible.
something.
Wow.
But I mean, they care. You know, they tried. They put in the effort. So I'll give them that. And once again, gonna be real quick here. This costume is so goddamn cute, and so many. She wears a bigger size than he does because she's a floof. But all right, yeah.
It's definitely adorable.
Yay! I love Shannon. Shannon, you're my new favorite fan. You're gonna be there.
Me too.
Oh, see? We have a mutual love of Shannon. Shannonness. We'll make t-shirts. Hugs for Shannon. Something like that.
I can do that.
Okay. You're sorry that we like you, or maybe that was about Yeti. I'm
thinking that's about Yeti.
Delayed reaction
like,
comment.
Please don't be sad that we like you. That's a fun thing. That's a good thing. Yeah,
we're full of love.
Okay. And Tom Dog, we still love you too, if you're still out there. And by the way, everybody, Tom Dog is amazing, and he spends a lot of time making some great shows. And he always is wonderful and gives us a shout out. And he's part of our family, and we love him to pieces. And you need to go and check out Brill Pro on YouTube and look up, I believe it's TomDog247 on most other social media sites. He does great product reviews of things. He does comparison stuff. He does some wrestling shows, which I'm not a huge wrestling fan, so I don't really watch the wrestling shows, but he does a lot of pop culture reviews as well. And yeah, he's just a really, really fun guy. He's also part of our Owlite crew, but he has his own thing. So go ahead and go check him out and give some likes and subscribes out. He's a super fun guy, and he's really dedicated to his friends and family. He's just really amazing. So yeah. So after all that, Jenny, Miss Agel Friday in the blue box.
Hi. Yes, the thing I've been nervous about doing. I guess I shall get started and see what y'all think. The house at 7530 Farcourt Road. Friday and Beth had traveled 25 minutes outside of DuQuoin, Indiana to the address the realtor had given her. She parked the black Expedition in front of the 1950s farmhouse and stepped out into the cooling autumn air. A 5'9", decently built man with short, well-kept walnut hair and beard was fiddling with the buttons on the wrist of his white button-up shirt and smoothing his yellow and green wave-patterned sweater vest. It seemed he was very nervous and seriously didn't want to be there. He didn't notice them until they walked closer to him. He jumped as he looked up with a nervous smile. "Miss Baker, so nice to meet you. And you brought a friend? Hello, Miss..." "Hello, Mr. Searson. I am Beth Rooker," she replied. Both ladies noticed he didn't offer to shake hands. "Nice to meet you, ma'am." He swept his arm towards the porch. "Isn't all the stained wood beautiful? I like it so much more than the whitewashed houses around the area." "I agree," Friday replied, smiling as she looked at the light-colored wood. In the railing of the porch, it looked as if small trees were debark-stained and built into the wraparound porch of this huge farmhouse. With its beauty and recent remodeling, it seemed like it would be way out of their budget. She could feel why it was so cheap as they walked closer to the house. She was not looking forward to finding out how many and what kind of energy it was, though. The trio walked up to the front door and knocked. A woman opened the door. She was nearly 6 foot tall in a gray long sleeve t shirt and a dark blue pair of jeans. Hi, you must be here for the tour of the house, she greeted them. Hello, Beth and Friday said in harmony. Hi, Miss Bainbridge, Mr. Searson stuttered. This is Miss Baker and her friend Miss Rooker. I would love it if we could give them the tour. Miss Bainbridge stepped back and lifted her arm aside with an open hand. Please come in. After a few seconds of silence, Miss Bainbridge smiled unsurely and asked, Shall we begin? They both walked further into the house, following the realtor. He started explaining about the different ideas that could be used in each room. Each empty room, except for the furnished furniture in a couple of the rooms that will come with the house free as long as she bought it. The shelves can be filled with books and knickknacks, he said as he waved at the shelves built in the far wall of the living room. Beth's eyes lit up. Can you imagine the library we can have in here? Friday nodded, smiling. The realtor smiled and continued. There is a comfy looking chair with a blond man scowling at them. This large couch would be perfect for snuggling and reading time, he continued, referring to her little girls. She conceded he was not able to see the spirit and continued following him on the tour. Beth looked at Friday questioning before they left the room. She nodded towards the sofa. Beth eyed it, understanding someone unseen was there. They continued walking. He briefly showed the small bathroom with just a sink and a toilet that could be decorated with the kids' characters. The next room was a master bedroom with a large king-size oak bed that looked rustic and well-loved. It will be perfect for midnight love and Sunday morning family breakfast. I kindly ask you to leave our love out of this, she exclaimed as she glanced at the small black-haired boy in the light-colored button-up shirt and suspenders peeking out from under the bed. He seemed unfazed by the strangers walking through the house. He got up and walked through the closet wall as they entered the room. She took a peek in the walk-in closet. Beth glanced around, wishing she could see what she could in Friday's eyes. The surprise look for a couple seconds told her there were more in the room with them. I apologize for being forward. Shall we continue? He replied, seemingly to realize he had gone too far. She nodded and they walked to the kitchen. An older lady in a blue floral dress and tan apron glanced at them in the kitchen. He didn't notice or ignored her putting the cutting board on the table. Miss Bainbridge did and looked frightened. Beth's sharp intake of breath told Friday that she noticed too. With such a large kitchen, you can have lots of family time. The fireplace, he motioned to the far left where the fireplace was in the brick wall with the wooden table and chairs safely set away from it, will keep you and your family warm in the winter. There is more than enough room at the table for everyone. There are many cabinets. He waved his hand in a showing motion as they walked into the pantry, which was huge. You can store anything you need in here. This is the best pantry yet, she exclaimed. She could see both Bainbridge and Beth were still shaken as they started out of the kitchen before she and the realtor took a step. They left the kitchen and he started showing them the other side of the hallway he was cheerful in each description. Here we have sturdy bunk beds for all the kids, including an extra for sleepovers. The desks are set up so they can all share. The hardwood bunk beds were built in the wall, with the desks opposite them. Little man will love it here too. He wouldn't ever want to leave. Beth exclaimed exclaimed about the huge room. Friday agreed wholeheartedly with her. The second level was a recent addition, he exclaimed as they went up the stairs. Understanding could not see what else was there as her eyes followed the children of various ages. This beautifully furnished 1950s house with 2 levels, including all the room for her and her husband, 3 kids, and mother-in-law, included they could ever need. He could not see that the original family was still there. The 4 kids, 2 girls and 2 boys, were playing except for the youngest. He seemed to see them and wonder why were they there. They ran up and down the stairs, as well as in and out of the rooms as he showed them. Miss Bainbridge did not come up with them, knowing they were there, and it scared her. They walked towards the door at the bottom floor as Miss Bainbridge was seeing them out, and the father threw a book at the realtor from the living room, landed flat against his walnut-colored bearded face with a hard smack. With that, he bolted. Friday stood there, staring at the tall, thin, clean-shaven man in overalls and plaid shirt. His hand brushed back his graying blonde hair. I am apologizing for coming unannounced. Your house is up for sale, I say after 20 or so seconds after the realtor bolted out the door. Beth stood beside Friday. Miss Bainbridge ran the other way. Beth knew something was happening when Friday took a deep breath and started talking at the room. How? We are still here. We are able to stay a family with all that happened. Get out! He yelled. His energy was so strong she couldn't breathe. So she grabbed Beth's hand, pulling her out of the house, locking the door behind them. And that's my story.
Yay!
Thank you. And hi, Raz.
Hey, everybody.
We gained a
Hi,
Raz.
Raz.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Rasty slasher.
Mike, the beardless Raz.
Beardless Raz.
Do you
I did
like
not like
being
shaving that
beardless?
beard. I hated having to ditch it, but I had to play Beetlejuice on Friday. You know, I can't have the whole beard of Beetlejuice. It just doesn't work right.
Yeah, it's not Beetlejuice.
Yeah, Weedlejuice maybe, but that's a whole other conversation. That's a Hell's Dungeon After Dark.
Shannon.
Oh, and a couple comments real quick before. Thank you, Tom Dog. Glad you're enjoying
Thanks,
tonight.
Tom.
And Shannon thinks you're a fun guy. Maybe.
That's epic.
Yeah, we love Shannon. Shannon's our new favorite, by the way. We just promoted her. That's what I decided. And you weren't here, and since I'm the boss of everybody,
Sounds good to me. Hey, you're the boss of me too. Let's not forget that. You're the boss of me too. So
I'm the boss.
you just do things and you let me know, and I'm like, yeah, totally. Yeah, that's what's
by the
happening.
way, we. Oh, sorry. I keep muting Michael on I don't know, between stories, and I forgot to unmute him. I'm very sorry. But it's because I'm the boss of you. I decide who.
She just randomly lets us do things, just so you know.
Dell now has control of the horizontal and the vertical. Do not attempt to adjust your buildings.
This all came from one night when I was just way too
Actually,
fucked to deal with
I
it.
think I need to bow out here. I've got a real early morning.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Sorry,
Thank
guys.
you so much, Mike. I
Thank you
appreciate
for
you
coming.
coming so much.
Great
Thank
story.
you for
I like
the invite,
turtles.
guys.
It was a great
You
boogeyman.
rock.
We're going to put in a collection
always
of boogeyman
rock.
stuff.
Good to meet you, Mike.
I've seen you in a couple of the chats we share.
Yeah.
That is cool.
But it's good to meet you, Raz. Okay,
Which
how
two?
do I sign off of this thing?
Just
I think you mostly just close out the browser and it works like a sign off.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Sleep
Good
well.
night. Sleep well.
Really miss you
All right.
guys, man. This shit's been
miss you
crazy
too.
lately at the haunt.
Hey, dude, you have an all-year job that focuses hard on one season, so we get it that you
Yeah.
have to be gone through the haunt season and stuff.
It's been
for
busier
certain
this year
nights
than
and
any
stuff.
year before, though.
I mean, but that's a
Yeah.
good thing, right?
I mean, it's been
But it's
busier
just
because
hard.
we've been trying to come up with a lot of other things that we can do. So a lot more meetings, a lot more planning. Because like I've said before, this started last year unless we can, raise the money to, officially stay open. And we're still behind that ball right now. We'll get closer. We're getting closer to it. We had our record-breaking event on this past Saturday. We did 455 people in one night, which still
Nice.
is a lot. But some friends of ours that have had haunts, 12 plus years, they're in. One of them hit 1,500 last Saturday. But they've also got a lot bigger of a property and a lot bigger of everything. So that's that's not unreasonable for them, but that's what we're hoping to get to at some point. I had a break-in
I would
today.
lose my mind at that.
Yeah.
Just like, no,
Yeah.
I can't deal with all of you. Go away.
Yeah, I should have been actually here when the show started, but we got to the haunt to meet up to get to the event. We were all planning to get there early so we could leave early, and we got there and our front doors had been smashed in. So
Yeah,
that took longer than expected.
What?
Yeah.
Was everything okay? If you can talk about it, like, did they destroy the haunt, or was it just the front doors?
We got really lucky. It looks like some kids probably or something just threw some rocks at the doors. Nothing was touched. Everything's fine. We already had doors we were going to put on. Actually, already down there. So it's funny because when it was radioed into the police, it was radioed in as in progress, just in case. Man,
yeah.
By the time I got there, the other Fred was already there. Some other people, management and other people were already there, so they'd already gone down, swept the whole building. Already knew there was no one there. Was already cleaning up the glass when I got there, and all the rest of the glass got cleaned up, and the doors had mostly been replaced with the new ones before the cops even actually got there. So like we were all on top of it. Everyone was organized and pepped each other up, and it cost us time and aggravation, but luckily nothing was taken, and we already had doors, so we didn't have to come out of pocket on anything.
Good.
That is
Nice.
wild.
Good.
Oddly convenient.
And it had to have, it happened in the span of like an hour and 20 minutes between when no one was there for just like an hour and 20 minutes today only in that little window.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you got somebody stalking your haunt, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't get a chance to make a video for you guys when it was Beetlejuice on Friday because, oh my God, we were busy that night too. It was, I hurt myself pretty good, but it was worth it.
In case people don't know, how many people is it that you have married as Beetlejuice? Raz got awards for being like Beetlejuice.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I don't even know how many people. The marriages mostly happened the first year that I did it because the whole shtick was you had to say my name 3 times or marry me, or you couldn't get through my section. And Matt was the priest in there. He was the gravedigger, so Matt would marry me to random men, women, service dogs, management, like everybody. I married everybody, and Beetlejuice does not discriminate. But I didn't do any of the wedding shticks, but I did a lot of new ones that I hadn't done before, and a lot of people found out we were doing Cinema Night, and that I was coming back as Beetlejuice. So we had a lot of people that just came through because I was going to do it again, and I kind of spread it around. But so many people came in, it was brilliant. I was on all night, even when I was checking on actors. I went through the haunt in character to mess with everybody. I spent time in every section of the house, and they yanked me into so many scenes. The voodoo lady raised me out of a coffin. Michelle was doing Tiffany, and we had Evan doing Glenn, and we had the Chuck and Tiffany dolls back in the freak show. So when I went through, they brought me out of nowhere with their voodoo and just everywhere,
cool.
man. I did the salesman pitch on the backyard in the Campbell house, where I was just like, "Hey, come on down." And I did the whole, what is it? I'll eat anything you want me to eat. I'll swallow anything you want me to swallow. If you come on down, I'll chew on a dog. I did that whole act. I did a bunch of them. That's
awesome. We've got to get video of you doing this sometime, but at the same time, we don't want to put spoilers for people who it's one of those things where it's like, God damn it, only a certain demographic can get to geographically.
Yeah.
Geographically.
Yeah.
Dogs cannot enter the haunted house because they are immobile.
Very slowly.
Yeah.
Well, the weird part is we were like mobility wise, people that are actually in the area. Our first year, we were one of only 3 companies in the United States that were. It's weird. Oh, hold on one second. I got to turn my sensitivity down. Is that better? Can you guys still hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's going to rattle a little bit because they've forgotten that I'm live and they turned on the furnace without thinking about it. So that's something I'm going to have to deal with this winter, apparently. Is it super bad?
People being comfortable.
No.
Yeah. Is it super bad?
No, we can hear you.
Okay. Hold on. Can you hear my furnace raging?
No.
We hear the ringing. That's about it.
We've had some off and on feedback here and there through the episode, so it's all good.
Okay. I'll get that fixed in the future. But yeah, it's been a lot of insanity, man. Just so much all the time, and I'm doing a lot more than I usually do, which I love. We had the Harley event last weekend that went well. It went so we did up to that point in time. That was a record night until we broke it last night. But we're going to be doing some more stuff with Harley. Already talking about a sequel commercial for next year's Ride event, and they're wanting to do some with us for Christmas this year too. So that's gone really well. Nick and Ashley and Patrick over there, they treated us really well.
Awesome. So you just got here, but you're the last presenter for the evening, and I
didn't even consider the fact that I was going to tell a story, but I will tell one. What do you want a story about?
The boogeyman?
We had a boogeyman story tonight, so if you would like to do a boogeyman story, we can like have started and then
on his house, everything.
Okay. I'll make up one right now. Let's do this. All right.
Okay.
I've had so many experiences in my life, and I've seen and done so many things that I don't know. I think I can tell stories about anything at this point. I probably still have makeup and shit on my face from yesterday. Yeah, probably. Here. All right, so boogeyman haunt. All right, I got you. There's one place in my haunt where no one likes to go. A long time ago, this building was an original Elder Beerman's. The entire giant half of this strip mall was just the Elder Beerman's. And we have strange things underground that I've mentioned a little bit about in the past. One of the cool things that we have is the original Elder Beerman escalator. In fact, we have the entirety of it still in our haunt. We can't use it for guests because of the fire code won't allow it, which is understandable, and it's just too expensive for us to renovate and fix. But that's not the bad spot. The bad spot is this one little secret closet that's hidden in the freak show. Inside that closet is a stairwell that leads to just a wall. The stairs go all the way up and then just dead ends to a wall. Another quick explanation about this is when they renovated it from the Elder Beerman's into the strip mall, that they closed off a lot of sections so they could separate things to rent out spaces better and such. And that's reasonable excuse. It was also the origination point of a pretty major fire that happened when it was Elder Beerman. Not a lot of people died, but enough. Fast forward to decades after that, when it was a bingo hall. There was a fire in the kitchen at the bingo hall, and it spread. And again, only a few people died, but it was enough. There's a lot of strange things that roam these halls. There's actual spirits. There's things that none of us can properly identify. But the thing on the closet in the freak show is perhaps the most terrifying of all. This creature, I can tell you that I'm not even sure what it is. And that's pretty rare. I've talked to people with more knowledge than I have, much more knowledge than I have, and they don't know what it is. But the most frightening thing of all is that it does not understand what it is or know. Imagine a being that can wield a fairly insane amount of power that's basically a child. It's not good, it's not bad, but it throws tantrums. It wants what it wants, and it doesn't know how to get it except to take it. This has been a cursed position in our haunt. The first 2 years, we could not keep a carnival barker for the freak show. And back then, it wasn't even a freak show yet. It was just the opening to the carnival. The initial rumor was that our first barker, who only lasted for 3 weeks during that first season, attacked a loved one to the point where he put them in the hospital and then committed suicide. And the week leading up to this, he just kept saying that something back there was talking to him. Something back there was talking to him. This was constant all the time at the haunt. he was afraid to go back to his spot and would not go back there if he was the only one at period, because it wouldn't stop talking. Of course, back then, I was just an actor then. I wasn't in management or anything, so that wasn't my area. And when the haunt was open, I didn't really have any time to go back there. And when we were there cleaning and building, the little I got to help out with that year, we were always busy. So there wasn't many opportunities for a while at first. 1 second. Sorry, a little parched today. It's the Beetlejuice voice got me. So, that went on for, like I said, the first 3 weeks or so. And then that tragic event happened. And then we restaffed it. We restaffed it with another person right there on the stage. They lasted 1 weekend and had a complete nervous breakdown. And they, from my understanding, never haunted anywhere after that. I talked to them very rarely, occasionally. They're definitely not the same person they were before working with us. It was someone I had known prior to this. And all they ever told me was, it wouldn't stop talking. It wouldn't stop talking. I couldn't stop thinking was the last thing they started saying. And then, we kind of didn't put anyone back in that spot. We had the original bearded lady, Keisha. She was still in that area, but just not by that door. And she said it freaked her out back there, but nothing happened. Didn't think anything of it. Year 2 comes along. Again, we tried a couple different people in this spot. And again, I still wasn't even quite management that year. In year 2, I was just helping out more. And still nothing. We could not keep anybody there. So that year I was Beetlejuice in the queue line, but I would sub as Beetlejuice as the Barker, which later turned into the very beginning of JB Rotten and the end of year 2. And it wasn't until I was back there that anyone would stay. And for the first 5 or 6 nights I was back there towards the end of that season, I experienced, I knew something was there because you could just feel it. Like you just, everybody, even if you weren't sensitive, just feel whatever this was. I'd go in the closet, I'd look, I'd sit there like kind of in the dark by myself for a little bit to see if anything would approach. Nothing. But then any night I wasn't there, whoever was on the stage would complain about it. And then we did it's the version of hide and seek we do. It's called Haunt and Seek. I talked about it a little bit before. It's with the Mirror Man story and some things like that. Matt was our very own Matt here at the network was playing that night, and he hid back over there near that door, this secret door. And he said that he got this really strong vibe, and something was telling him to just stay quiet and not move and not even breathe, because it was trying to explain to him that someone was going to catch him. And so he literally, but then when he stopped moving and stopped breathing, he couldn't start moving and start breathing again. And he said that the weirdest thing about it was his own inner voice. Like, how like you hear yourself talking your inner voice, so it's yourself like thinking things. It feels like that, and you hear your inner voice, but it's not your thoughts. So you get this vibe that's just not you that's talking to yourself. And that's the only way it could communicate with him. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. I kept a little bit more of an eye on it. Year 3, when I officially started the Freak Show, about 2 weeks before we opened, I went in the closet. I was alone in the building. Made sure all the lights were out, and I just sat there in complete darkness for half an hour. And I just kept talking, like, hey, I know you're here. I just want to touch base, see if there's anything I can do, kind of a situation, trying to come into this, being helpful, hoping that it was some kind of problem that could be solved, or, someone maybe that needed to move on, or just anything that I could do. And I start hearing my own voice in my head, just talking, but it's weird. If you've ever seen the stupid Mime movie that I made, or the Sounds of Crimson books, it was like that kind of voice, like an amalgam of like all these voices. But in this case, it was like they were all, instead of working together and talking like a legion-like thing, is like all the voices were trying to say the same thing or similar, but they were all fighting at the same time to be heard. So it was very like off-putting inside your head. It's very discordant. And it freaked me out. Like literally, it made my skin crawl. And I went to get up, and I went to open the door when it happened because it freaked me out so bad. And whatever it is just slammed it. And like you could feel this pressure on the door. You couldn't even turn the handle all of a sudden. And the handle's like, it barely functions. I could have ripped it right off the door, to be honest with you. Like it really didn't do a lot. So it should have opened easily. But you can just feel the weight just shifting against this door. But you're not seeing anything because it's complete darkness. But you can kind of feel it. And it doesn't feel like a person or anything. It just felt like I can't explain it. It just the force was there. Like your hands will go through it, but you can feel pressure. And it had to have been a lot of pressure for me to feel it because I have pretty extensive nerve damage. So pressure is one of the things I still can kind of feel in my skin, but it still takes a lot of it to feel it. And then I felt like I couldn't breathe all of a sudden, but it just kept talking to my head about how, it needed something and I had it. And that's the best it could kind of explain to me. And then, I kind of let it feel me out a little bit more. Stayed quiet. I didn't even try the door for like probably another 10 minutes. And on the inside, like I'm dying inside. Like, oh my God, like, is this how I die? Is this like the moment? Like me, constantly having to poke the paranormal, and even though I'm trying to be helpful, I've gotten into some bad situations, and I'm thinking, is this the last situation I'm ever in? Because like I said, there was no one in the building. The building was locked. It was just me in here. And I'm in a closet complete on the other side of the goddamn entrance, any of the entrances to the hut. So no one was going to, even if they did get there, no one would get to me in time. And cell phones don't work back there because it's just a dead zone. So there was no communication. And then the pressure just goes away. Okay. And it just kept talking. And I realized I could open it. I tried it. I went to open it. But it wasn't barring. It was still talking, but it wasn't barring me from leaving anymore. And, we talked for a little bit. And the basic gist of what it could understand, at least at that point, and the beginning of year 3, was it takes things from people that it doesn't have to better itself, sort of. That's the sort of setup. It might have been a spirit of someone once, but it had become anything that ever died on or near the property, anything that it could just latch onto, a customer, a person, or it had been there since before Elder Bierman was even there. Apparently, it had been there on the land, and it sort of felt like everything got built up around it. And because of the way that the things were made back then, it was actually trapped in this space. It cannot leave this space, even if it wanted to, and it wants to. It just cannot physically leave the space. And it tries to attract things that it doesn't have, people to have conversations because it's lonely, but it's terrified. It's new. It doesn't know. It doesn't understand what the world is. It doesn't understand the difference between even people and animals. It doesn't register that there's a difference. So I got to know it. I started kind of leaving like little offerings, just little polite things, comments. At the beginning of every night, I'd disappear in the closet for 5 or 10 minutes and just talk a minute and then leave. I mean, it started feeling comfortable talking to me when I was just back there on the stage, like through the wall. It would tell, in my head. And then more and more people it started talking to. But the more we talked to it, the less dangerous it became, which was good at first. It was good until you realize that you're seeing all these customers pile back here, and that to it is more energy, aka food. And the more holdups we get out there, because you're going through our big elevator experience, which is a timed thing. So sometimes you'll have like a couple groups miss the elevator and kind of spill out into the freak show, or they'll run around the hallway too quick because they're scared. And you look up and there's 3 groups coming into your curtain at once. You're like, oh, I've got to entertain all of them and separate them out into groups and push them through again. So it would get really chaotic. And in those chaotic nights, you couldn't keep track of what it was doing. You just couldn't. There was no way to like. Usually, if there was one group, you can kind of look at people, and you'll know because you'll see somebody kind of like looking around. They won't say anything, but you can tell when it's affecting someone. But on those nights, it would feed more because we couldn't pay enough attention. And it's this foreboding feeling. Like most people that work at the haunt don't even know it's there. I have never been told, but they'll mention to me like, "Hey, I don't know how you handle it back there. When you're in the freak show because of the vibe you get back there. I'm terrified to walk back there. All the actors I've got in there now are fine. They're kind of better now in some ways, but I'll get to that." So it was just this constant point of I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about it because I was worried that if I talked to someone about it, that would violate any agreement that we made because it didn't really want to be known that it was there. And if you know anything about making any kind of agreements with anything in this world, paranormal, normal, woods-based or not, you're kind of bound to keep your agreement because bad things tend to happen when you don't keep your agreements. So I kept it quiet. And then more people started discovering it by the end of year 3. And then the build season for this year got pretty insane. It did not like that things were being built around that it couldn't see. Because in its eyes, we were just almost adding to its personal little dungeon. Like we were just changing the layouts. We were doing all this stuff. We were painting. We were building. And it started getting really restless. And we had some very angry people during build season at a couple different times in the building. And that riled it up to the point where it was trying to physically force its way out through the closet opening. And it was way too big for that. And it actually cracked the inside of a solid steel frame of the door. And you can see the crack. It's all the way up at the very top, and it's from the inside out. And we've looked and looked, and even our tech guy was like, there is no way that could happen unless something giant was trying to force its way, out of that. That just doesn't. It's a certain type of stress crack, I guess, in the steel that he was explaining. I'm not a steel guy, so I can't really speak to a lot of that. And then it just got quiet for about a week. There was nothing. There was no vibe. So we were at that point in time terrified that it hadn't actually gotten out when we came in that day. So like every day that week, I showed up a lot more than usual that week, and we would just check different areas, feel the vibes, like try to figure out where this thing went. Turned out that it had gone nowhere. When it couldn't get out, it decided that it needed to devise a new plan. And this where things got extra dangerous this year. This whole new plan it decided to make. It figured out how to extend part of itself out the door, like out the door to kind of like almost like a lanternfish to kind of like lure you in, but like mentally, I guess. So people started trying to get into the door. Like this is before customers. This is still like workers and stuff. And more people would just suddenly just naturally, like from all over the building, start gravitating. Like they'd walk in the door and you'd see them set something down and they just walk back to the freak show. One day I went back there and there was 8 actors who aren't even in or near the freak show. They were just gathered there in like this weird half circle staring at this hidden door. And it's hidden behind this like ticket booth thing that we kind of had built when we had it moved over there before we opened this year. So like you know that we all know the door is there, but you just can't see it to the public because we don't use it. And they're just there. And I walk up, and as soon as I walk up, the door opens. The ticket booth thing we have in front of it is made of like PVC, like really light PVC piping, and some like it looks like canvas pretty much from like a painting. They just stretched canvas over like a little wooden frame to kind of frame the thing in. So it weighs, I can move it with one hand and I can't hardly lift anything. But the door opened. No one was in it. And the whole booth slides to the side and just open. And we have lights on in the freak show. None of the light from the freak show is spilling into this room, which has never happened before. Usually you could at least see kind of lights of the freak show in the room. So you could see like the floor in the immediate area. Nothing. It was just a wall of solid darkness right where the door frame was, like right there in your face. And you could put your hand in there, kind of wiggle it around a little bit, like try and see stuff. You could not see your hand. You could stand at the opening. Your hand could be right here. And if it was slightly in, it just looked like your hand was missing. So before I could even like fully react, all 8 of them just start piling into the closet. I mean, that's what we call it, as the closet. It's because the steps lead to nowhere. They start piling in it, and they start one by one walking up the stairs. And I'm screaming like, guys, get the fuck out. What are you doing right now? What is happening? And this point, I'm now feeling no vibe from the closet. I'm hearing nothing, which means logically the only thing I can come up with is that it had blocked me somehow. Somehow it had masked its energy, but was immediately affecting all of them. And none of them were responding to me. All 8 of them, one by one, filing into this fucking pit of darkness, basically. Nothing. There was not even any sounds coming out of the room. It was like once they crossed in, also, I couldn't even hear their footsteps, just nothing. And I realized at that point in time, the only way that that's going to, if it can turn out well, I've got to go in this room. So the door is starting to close. When I make up my mind, it's starting to close behind them. And there's no hinge on this fucking door. It just opens or it's closed and it's really fucking heavy. But it stayed open by itself that whole time. So I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do? All right, I got to go in. I'm a manager. I'm responsible for these people. I don't know what to do, but I just kind of like snuck right in and the door just slammed behind me. I checked it. It was not going to open. It was not going to open anytime soon. So the pressure was back on the door, but like way stronger than it was before. And I look over, and now I can almost make things out in the darkness. Like now that I'm in the room, and I can see their shapes. They're already on the first landing for the steps, because there's 3 or 4. There's 4 landings that you go up on these stairs. They kind of go around like in a box manner, like most old school stairwells, before it hits the dead end wall. And there's no rails, so if you fall on this thing, it's all solid concrete. You're gonna die. So they make it to the second landing, and I'm following them up, still hollering, still screaming. No one's paying attention. No one can hear anything. And then I hear it. And my own inner thought in my head, and it's, you weren't supposed to be here. And my immediate mental response was, I'm definitely supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be doing what you're doing. And then silence. Everybody stops moving, like just dead, like frozen, like in step even, like walking up the stairs. And then it's back to utter darkness again. And now I feel isolated. Now I don't even feel like I'm in the same room anymore. I know I have to be. Obviously, I didn't get transported somewhere magically. But it's like now there's pressure on all four sides of me, like squeezing me in, where I can't even move now. I'm just standing there in this room. And then I hear, again, my inner voice. And it says, if you stay here, I'll let them go. I'm like, okay, we'll let them go. That was no thought about that. No thought whatsoever. And one by one, I can hear footsteps again. And I hear people filing out. I hear the door open and the door slam shut again, probably about, 30, 45 seconds after that. But with all this pressure around me, it's like this new level of darkness. So I couldn't even see that when the door opened. I'm seeing nothing. So I'm pretty sure they're out. I mean, I'm assuming this thing kept its word. Usually they're bound to, but you never know. And it invites me to sit. And by inviting me, I mean the pressure around me starts shifting me until I'm at the stairs. And then the pressure starts coming from above me, so I have no choice but literally to sit on the staircase. And the pressure just stays there. And there's silence for forever. It could have been 30 seconds. It could have been a half an hour. I don't know. It was timeless. The feeling was timeless. You were there, but you weren't there. And there was like the whole world had just fallen away. It speaks again. It informs me that I've made my decision, that I've stayed so they can go. And it needs me to help it escape. And if I can figure out how to help it escape, it'll eventually let me go once there's proof of its escape. I ask it, what's your plan when you leave? And it says, we've always been here. We don't know. And some voices were we, some were I, some were they. Like, they were all saying the same thing again, and it's just radiating in different parts in my head, and it's confusing, and they're confused, and I'm confused, and then it was just pure terror. It was pure terror for me. I pissed myself, no lie, no joke. Like, I legitimately pissed myself, and I'm feeling it running down my leg. Hot. I can't feel the temperature, but I can feel kind of like I can't see it either, and I'm not gonna let this thing out. It knows at this point now that I'm not going to find a way to let it out. I'm going to sacrifice myself. That's what you do. You don't let terrible, big, terrifying things that are capable of things that even you don't understand just out. You can't do that. And I didn't respond. Again, it could have been 30 seconds. It could have been another 30 minutes. It could have been days with the way it felt. It wasn't. It didn't turn out to be days by the time I got out. But it felt like another little eternity. And I just sat there. And finally I just said no. That was it. Just no. And then again, nothing. 30 seconds, 30 minutes, 30 days, 30 years. It was just this oppressive silence. Like, it wasn't even silence. It was so quiet that I don't even think there was a word for it. Like, I should have been able to hear my fucking hair grow with how quiet it was, but it was just nothing. Again, no light, nothing. I'm just enveloped in this intense pressure, but now a smaller box because I'm sitting on the stairs. And then I feel the upper pressure just disappear. So I stand up on the stairs. It's shifting me again, but it's shifting me up the stairs. So I make it to the third landing. Let's move a little faster. I make it to the fourth landing where the wall is. And I get right up to the wall, and the pressure just sandwiches me in. Like, I'm like now like flat with my hands like this, like flat against this wall. Like, it's pushing me in. I'm a heavy set guy, so it's got a lot of gut to kind of push in there against the wall. And then it got to the point where it just enveloped closer and closer, and my face was just, I couldn't turn it sideways in time. So my face is just up against the wall now, and now I can't It's getting harder to breathe. I got a little bit of air, but it's getting harder to breathe. The pressure in my chest is now building, like almost as if the wall, it's just shoving me so hard into this wall. And I thought I was going to black out at that point. Like, I mean, I guess it wouldn't have made much of a difference anyway, because I already couldn't see anything or feel anything or hear anything or smell anything. But I thought I was just going to lose. Like, again, the whole this is it. This is your final stupid moment. You made it out last time when you thought it was done, but this time there's nothing. And again, 30 seconds, 30 years, 30 minutes, whatever it was, passed again. And the pressure was gone. The pressure just all disappeared. I started to walk down the stairs, made it to the third. And it was like there's this wall of force that I couldn't move down any farther down from the third landing. And it started to talk to me again in my own inner voice. It needed an arrangement. The problem was not even so much as getting out of the building. Because the more I thought about it, and the more it considered my no, and its ability to understand what I was thinking, because it was already in my head, I realized that it probably couldn't even exist on its own outside this building, because what food source would it have? It wouldn't know how to approach people. It wouldn't know how to get what it needed. But we were already giving it what it needed, because it had people nonstop, and it could feed enough for, in the span of one night, it could feed enough to sustain itself for 6 months worth of just energy. And it realized that it needed to stay there, to feed, to grow, and to what it called complete itself, which is why I was still hunting for qualities of certain people, for parts of people, mostly metaphysically, from my understanding. I hope there was many decades that was there before me, and it's an area that people disappear in sometimes, but no more than any other town. So you don't really think about that kind of thing. And I mean, I did at that point, but not before then, and probably not much since after. And it said, in order to let you out, I need a guarantee. Again, I'm paraphrasing here because it's hard to remember exactly, even though when it's in your own inner voice, it's so shocking that like you get the feeling of it and you get the gist of it, but that's kind of really about it. And in order for me to leave that day, and I wanted an amendment that minute also wouldn't affect anyone that worked there, especially anyone that worked near the door, because if I was going to walk out of this and I was going to give something up, I needed it to give some source of something up. So I felt this pain just right up here in my chest. It wasn't pressure anymore. It was like it felt like something was getting ripped, not off of me, but from inside me. That was how severe the pain was. And I fell to my knees on that third landing, as this whatever it was just felt like it was being ripped out of me. And then the agreement was made. And I didn't understand exactly how the whole process worked. I thought what I wanted from it, which is, again, not just me being able to leave, but me being able to keep people there safe. And my understanding at this point still of the agreement is that it needs to eat. It needs more energy. It needs more whatever it is that I can't quite grasp, or what was torn from me from other people. And so now the only option I have is to make sure as many people as possible get in the door and get routed to the free show, that things pile up so we don't notice it feeding. Because if we notice it, I think it's going to be harder to let it feed. But if we don't let it feed, I'm worried about what will happen if I don't get back whatever it took from me. But at the end of this year, if it says it'll give it back. The agreement was made. I don't know. But I think even more than that, I worry about what happens if we do close this year. What happens if it no longer has a source of anything? Will it find a way out before it's completed? And if it does, will it not make it like it thinks? Or will it find that one person that lets it in? That one person that lets it in so thoroughly that it becomes, and it spreads whatever this is to not other haunts, not even just other businesses, but to anywhere else, to everywhere. And if it does that, how far can it go? Can it multiply if it's out of a space? What can it do? And not knowing what it can do and not knowing the answers to that question, that's really why I need to keep this place open, more so than anything else, to keep whatever that is inside. So that's my current care with my own personal boogeyman at a haunt. And I guess if you really think about it, he's also my personal monster in the closet these days. So I guess Mr. Jones isn't alone anymore.
Fucking A, bro. That's some shit. And yeah,
That
by the way, folks, obviously now go to Hell's Dungeon. That was not a commercial, but Jesus. Go there. Feed it a bit. I want my bro back. Whole.
you
Kinda my thing.
never let me down on the stories, Raz.
So I didn't even realize I was going to tell him. I didn't even think about it. I just want to come and be with you guys. And it wasn't until you said so. I was like, I got to tell you a story now.
It's the Raztax.
There you go. It's never been written down, never been said out loud, but there you go. I guess it has now.
Well,
You gotta.
Luckily for you
Applause.
guys, I was sufficiently high before I came today.
okay. And Patty's battery died, so she had to leave.
Oh, love you, Patty.
Yes, we love the
I'm
Patty.
gonna have to start doing the thing. I did this when I was a guild leader. I would be like, okay, everybody, we're getting ready for our weekly PvP, keep our land tourney thing. So you have half an hour left. Go ahead and get your bevs, get your food, potty yourselves, your dogs, and your children. Make sure everything is charged. And yeah, that generally worked. I
Yeah.
actually I did that on other shows too. I would be like, make sure you go potty now and charge in your device. But
Yeah.
God damn it, Kyle, you never plugged in your device. Or at least you said you didn't. You had to leave because of that. So anyway, okay, we got the stories done. We're going on 2.5 hours tonight. We love everybody, but some of us have other things we need to write for you. Yeah, we're all gonna go write for you right now, and that's exactly what we're doing. So let's
Wait,
wrap
we
it out,
have,
though.
we have to go write? What was this? We have to go write something?
Yes, we have to go write something.
Oh,
wrote
I'm not
something
writing
for
shit
tonight.
for the next... I'm done writing until November 1st.
Ooh,
Okay,
so
you're
it's
allowed
fully
though
done?
because you did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I got a new book on Halloween. I think I've burned a couple weeks off of writing.
Okay.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
so
definitely.
speaking of which, Raz, fuck my finger. Okay, there we go. No,
Okay.
Get Raz's
Thank you.
book, Silence
working
of
on that.
Crimson 2.
Homecoming.
Go get it. Pre-order
Yes.
it. Don't
Give
forget
us all
about
the
the graphic
info.
Raz.
Do what?
And don't forget about the graphic Raz. And
Do I have a
also, he
graphic?
has another story coming out in Dark Dreams, Letting in the Night. So that's
Yes.
2 things from Raz you have to get. Silence of Crimson 2 and Dark Dreams, Letting in the Night.
Yep, that's 2 things. And
Awesome.
I weirdly,
right.
I made a decision today, and I think I'll announce it here for the first time. You know, amidst the microwave sounds from upstairs right now. I hear so many sounds because I can hear everything I'm saying too with the new board, so I never know what's actually coming through the mic and what I'm just hearing here at home.
The beep beep of a burrito.
Yeah,
That's what's
get a
coming
chimichanga
down.
probably or something. I don't know. But I'm taking a little bit of a break next year in a weird way for writing. I'm thinking a lot about what I'm still wanting to accomplish. Obviously, I'm not putting out the second Lincoln book this year because I just don't have enough time to get it out in time for Christmas. But I'm gonna do my first ever creative nonfiction next year. I've been assembling a book about how to haunt for haunters, like in the haunt industry for a while now. I've been getting a lot of
nice.
stuff written, and I officially talked to some owners and other acting managers and other haunts in my own state and some others about doing interviews. So I'm going to be putting the actual Hanner's Handbook. I can't even talk. The Haunter's Handbook. That was totally backwards. And it's going to be like part like history of the business, part informational for like mostly for like theming haunts and for acting side of things. It'll have a lot of stuff like that, diagrams, also a workbook section that teaches you how to make your own haunt character from the ground up, like what you need, questionnaires and things you can fill out to kind of figure out like what kind of character would work best for you. I'm in another workbook section that's going to have how to generate backstory for your characters and how to like step into them when you're in the role. So that's going to be a big focus for next year. That for sure. and I'm gonna, for the first time ever, do a middle grade horror book. Like think like Goosebumps, Fear Street kind of thing. I'm looking at trying that for the first time, so that'll kind of fill out these projects that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it'll give me a year break in between Riverside Chronicles 2 and Sounds of Crimson 3. So,
And to piggyback off of that real quick,
I like turtles.
if you're a haunted haunter or a haunter who's been haunted, or you've worked in a haunted haunt, or you've been to a haunted haunt
Yes.
that wasn't haunted by the haunters, but the haunters, we are looking forward to hearing your stories. There's a new show that's starting, and we're going to be including all sorts of paranormal, supernatural things, but we're all about, because Raz is all about the haunts, and we've all gotten very interested and very into the haunts. We want to hear stories about haunted haunts, experiences and things that you guys have like that. Drop us a note. Let us know that you have a story, and we'll talk to you and discover when we're going to have an episode time for it. And it would be great. We just want to we want to have you guys be more of a part of our shows.
Yeah.
So,
and to be honest with this one, the show is ready to go. It's ready to go. Jenny's helped me out with a lot of it. Dell's helped me out. It's been my schedule. It's been the problem this month. Unexpectedly a problem. So yeah, we'll let you guys know for sure.
Yeah, but we're working on that, or any other stories. We also on this show are taking, if you have a story that you've written and that you've recorded yourself, and you can either hop on and do it, or if you would rather not be live, if you would rather record yourself in private, if you're shy or something like that, you're more than welcome to do that, or to ask one of us to read it as well. All right, now let's go down to Rob. We had you on the other day for Spearfinger, but which is fucking awesome, by the way, everybody. If you haven't got it, go check it out. He's got some links above, below, and around and everywhere. But let us know, how are things? You just launched live, right?
Yes.
Yesterday. How did the event go? Was everything cool? Was it super fun?
Yeah. No, the Merrimack Valley Book Festival is it's a good place to start. What is it called? To premiere a work. It's not bad if it's the first day that it's coming out. A lot of sales, a lot of talking. It was a fun event.
Well, it's an incredibly fun book, and you did fun tonight, which was awesome.
Thank you.
So, and Raz, you're gonna have to watch this again, because he did serious or fun. We went with fun.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, and still, frankly, disturbing, but very fun disturbing.
A little bit.
You know,
I need some new good clips from Rob to make another new video with.
Well, there's some. Well, I should say.
I'm thinking of some of the perfect quotes, but they're all even.
I was so scared. It was dark. Yeah. That was my favorite one.
But yeah, okay. So, looking at anything else that you have coming up, have you hidden anything from us? Are you just doing general routing stuff around? What you doing? Where do you want people to find you?
I haven't actually written anything since July. I've been editing for other people for a while, so I'm just trying to get through that so that I can. I need to work on some rewrites for a middle grade book for Weird House.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Very cool, man. We should talk.
It should come out sometime next year.
Awesome. Middle school, is there a horror genre? Is it? I know, I love Weird House. I'm a big, I'm always posting up their stuff, and Curtis and them are just great. But is it a genre specific type? I mean, obviously it's horror, but can you tell us a little bit more about it, or is it something that you're not really wanting to talk about? If I'm being intrusively weird,
you're perfectly weird.
I don't want to be that. If it's something you'd rather not talk about, that's fine.
No, it's fine.
I'm just fangirling.
I can talk about it a little bit. It's called, at the moment, it's titled Mr. Halloween. That could change. It's two kids who kind of inadvertently summon a thing that becomes a problem for them, and they have to deal with it. It's
nice.
You're giving me vibes from that movie The Gate back in the 80s right now, and I already love it.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to. I was just like, I know they kind of have a couple of different genres that they go through. There's some like, there's kind of a straight horror, and then like a mythos horror set, and like
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmesy types of stuff, and various different things. I just didn't
This
know.
is not Sherlock Holmesy.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound Sherlock Holmesy.
No.
I love Sherlock Holmesy stuff though. It's so much fun.
It's like,
I like-
it's like Sherlock Holmes but stabbier.
Stabbier. That's a new word for my word Google
Stabbier.
search. I'm a stabbier. Okay, so we got what we got what Raz is doing, what Rob is doing. Friday, what are you up to? You got some stuff coming up.
So 27th, along with Raz, Mike, and Patty, we are all into. Oh yeah, and Mel, Melanie D is in it as well. Melanie has art. Serena and Patty have stories, and I think maybe art. And I know Mike has a story, and I have one too in the Dark Dreams, Letting in the Night, and Letting in the Day duology anthology set that's coming out.
It's fun to say.
And-
Duology
Oh, yeah.
anthology.
Yeah, I have no idea
The
how.
whole thing sounds fun to say. It's
Sounds
I
good.
think you put it perfectly.
Oh, okay,
That
cool.
was
I like it.
I'd use that as like a term. Yeah, write that
Oh, yeah.
down.
I decided it was the perfect term, so I said it.
There you go.
Yeah.
It was.
Not just self promotion, but I also want you guys to go read their stuff because their stories was great, and I'm going to continue
Yours
putting up
was
the
great.
promos. Oh, yay! I hope so. Because if you listen to Sonia, you probably know where the ideas of my story came from. I mean, if you listen to Mel, sorry, I could not say Melanie when she was born.
Do you know how many people I know that we all have multiple names and it's trying to keep track of which one we're using at what point in time?
Oh yeah.
I just
And
have
it's
one.
really weird. Like that's why I'm so glad we have our names on the screen so we can be like, who am I today? Shit. Oh yeah, that's me. Okay. Which me is that me? Oh, that's that me. Okay.
Like no one just
It's
goes around
okay.
calling me by my real name like ever. Like it's Josiah. That's my full real name, or Jesse. Like no one ever calls me that. Like it's gonna legally change probably within the next year or two. Anyways, no one's used that name in an eternity.
There's only been one time when it was a problem because Josh did not know your real name. And he's like, who is this guy sending our child something? I'm like, that's Raz. It's
There's an adult male
Beetlejuice.
sending mail to my child.
It was
That's
on
a good.
purpose.
That's a good dad right there, though. Like he's stopping the question. Like he was this adult sending
Oh
my
yeah.
child things to the
And
mail.
once I told him why and who, oh, he was like, oh, okay, now I understand. And she loved it. She gave it a happy dance. It was awesome.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna interrupt you really quick if that's okay.
Yes.
My mom did the cutest thing when we were little ones. Like our reward for doing chores, it was like single mom time thing going on. And single mom trying to stretch everything so it wasn't like, oh, you get this big allowance or anything, because we were still pretty little. But she would do the happy mommy dance. And so we'd get all of our chores done, and we would get the big tabletop record player. She would prop it open and put on Leon Redbone's Without My Walking Stick. And she would do the happy mommy dance all along to that song and like pick us up and spin us around and then put us down when we were dizzy, pick the other one up and do it. And it's only a couple minute song, but like that's always like I love Leon Redbone. He's just amazing. I was so sad when he died. And he was so fucking young, but like I'll always have the happy mommy dance in my head from like forever. Like yeah. Oh God, I just spoke at my grandma's funeral. That's the thing I'm gonna have to bring up at my mom's because she keeps talking about mortality and stop it, Mom. I don't want to deal with your finances.
Type out all these stories because that's what I'm working with Martha about. Typing out all the stories, getting it written down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be actually typing a lot of mine out that I just tell all the time. Because most of those I tell you guys, I don't even have it written down anywhere. But I've been realizing lately that I probably should do that. And
Yeah,
Nano seems like a good time to write those things.
And have it. Well, no, you can just hop on YouTube, grab your cut segment, and there are things that will write it out for you. Obviously, you have to fix typos, but
Show me how to do that because that's advanced technology for me.
That's advanced technology for all of us, and I need to know that too for Martha's videos.
Okay, I will lead you guys the way. So, for me, I'm writing things. this body is writing things. That would be Carrie Lee Sanders, or just Carrie Sanders on Facebook. You can look it up. It's Kari. If there is a crow, that's me. But I am writing things that are not necessarily being published at the moment, and a couple of things that are. And so, since this is me judging you. That literally says next to it, Della's judging you. But yeah, I have some things that are on the way to publishers, some things that are being considered by publishers, and things that have been published. You can find it all in my links. They're all there.
And between 2023 and 2024 is the time for our book. We're doing it.
Oh shit! Yeah,
we
we're
are
writing a whole
doing
book,
it.
and we're grabbing all of the associates. Rob, you're invited. Of the Owlite community to hop into a book that we're going to be putting together for charity. So
I don't even mean just that one. I'm talking about our book.
Oh, and well, yes, and Raz and I also have
the
a book
anthology
that we're
too, for
putting
sure.
together.
Yeah.
But there will be an Owlite associate book coming out within the next year or two, depending on. We want to grab as many authors as we can and make it quality. So, we don't want to be like, I'm promising you this date, and I have to put it off. We'll let you know when the date is when we get the book put together. So, yeah. So keep checking us out. We love having you here. Oh my God, you guys are so much fun. Shannon, big hearts back. All the things. Cool. Thank you. And we've kept you up for 2 hours and 40 minutes now. So good night, everybody. And thank you so much. We love you. Like, subscribe, do all the things. Have a good night.